look at on the side.
We're
We're
live.
Yes, we are. Hello, and welcome to arguably the most
Best.
unprofessional live show on Facebook and YouTube. I am Chad. With me, as always, is Greg. And today, joining us, I took notes on this and how I wanted to do this intro, but I've got lost in the tech kerfuffle. But real quick intro of tonight's guest. If you have played a first-person shooter, specifically mostly Call of Duty, you have undoubtedly more than likely had our guest tonight either affect your game or you've used him for his website, TrueGameData. I don't mean to be blowing smoke or overly glazed, but tonight's guest has literally revolutionized gaming. It's Tony from TrueGameData. Welcome to the show. Thank you for hopping on with us. And
Welcome.
It's a pleasure to have you on, man. Once again, you wouldn't guess it, but we had audio issues again.
Just a bit.
Professional streamer.
Uh,
I guess technically, because we do earn money with this.
Money.
And I have this to say that I do this somewhat well.
it's a little baby plaque.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's tiny, man.
Yeah. As soon as I can get over to your place or you're swinging by mine, it's literally going on top of my car for each stream. I'm just gonna like loom over my head.
There you
Just
go.
have it hanging from your garage like a foot
Maybe I'll
behind
hang it
your
from
head.
I was literally just gonna say maybe I'll hang it from like one of the garage like joists up here just to make it super janky.
Like it's just swinging in the back. Oh man, our
Yeah.
dumb ideas. But
That's exactly how this podcast is.
But one thing I did leave out on my intro is that not only is Tony a gamer, but he's actually one of us. He is a car guy.
One of us.
Welcome. You'll enjoy it here.
Until you shear a bolt, then you don't enjoy it anymore.
It's when you get to the point of a build when you realize a drug addiction would have been cheaper and probably healthier.
Yeah, you see that.
But
Dude.
just real quick for some of our viewers, just give us a quick intro of who you are, what you do, real quick, and then we'll hop into sort of the more detailed stuff.
Okay.
Words.
I'm Tony. Like he said, I started a website called TrueGameData back in, I think it was like May of 2020, like right after COVID started. And that website is called TrueGameData, and it covers multiplayer statistics, Warzone statistics for the weapons in those two games. And basically, I was addicted to Warzone back then, Call of Duty Warzone, and I was very annoyed that the stats in the game didn't have any meaning whatsoever. They were just like, they didn't help at all. They were just bars that didn't relate to any real stats, basically. And as an engineer and somebody who loves data, that was like super annoying to me because I wanted to build the best guns with the best attachments, and there was just no way to know what that was in the game, like period. And there were some people that were trying to do that somewhat, like Exclusive Ace on YouTube, and JGod was the Warzone guy on YouTube, and they were good, but it was like their videos were static, right? So like they would give you an update about some stats or a weapon build from some patch, and then 3 weeks would go by and the guns would be completely different, and that was irrelevant now. So it was like that was really annoying to me. So I was like, I didn't have a job at the time. I had just self-taught myself programming, web development, and I was like, you know what? I'm addicted to this game. I know based on the kind of views that these like data-based videos on YouTube are getting that if I do this, it'll be successful if I do it the right way. And I knew that I had the ability to do it because I had the engineering background. I have a mechanical engineering degree. But yeah, I just was like, I'm just gonna do it myself. Nobody else is gonna do it. So I started TGD, and then caught on traction really early because of JGod. Like I mentioned earlier, he was the big stat guy on YouTube for Call of Duty, and he somehow caught wind of the website really early on. And before I even had the name TrueGameData on Twitch or anything, he came in my stream after seeing some stats on the website, and he's like, "Are these stats correct?" Like, because it was like completely different and stuff that nobody knew at the time. And I was like, "Yeah, as far as I know, they're real and correct," because I like hand tested all the stats myself. And So he went and made a YouTube video on that. And then the website went from having like 15 people on it to having like 500 people on it constantly, immediately. And we
Nice.
were like trying to buy hosting to keep up with all the people on the site. And so we exploded overnight from that. And then like, I think like 2 months later ish, I started the YouTube channel. So I got the plaque back there. Again, that took off because of other people. Like I had the website. The website was pretty big at the time. So I would have grown through that anyway. But like J God and other people in the community shouting me out that already had these big YouTube channels, I went from 0 to 50,000 subscribers in like 3 weeks or something crazy like that. Because again, I made
That's
videos on,
wild.
yeah, I made videos on things that I had discovered that literally no one in the community knew about at the time. So it just took off super fast. It was crazy for a long time, just explosive growth for the first like 2 years.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now
How
kind
did
of,
how did your mind like go from like, because obviously like explosive growth, you're going into like a niche that like wasn't there,
yeah.
right? So how was your mindset when you're just like, oh, there's like people paying attention to this now. I gotta like, was it that like, oh, I have to up my game sort of mentality, or more of just like, okay, now I want to like really get into it, fine tune everything, and then like with your like engineering brain, how did that all like go down inside your mind?
Yeah. So early on, I really, when I started this, or when I started TGD, I basically just wanted to do, you don't really play, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've watched a ton.
Yeah.
Like I've watched a bunch of like Smitty's my favorite.
Okay.
He's freaking great.
Gotcha.
I watched like him and Grizzy and like Blarg, like all their Warzone content. So I'm very familiar with it. I'm god awful
Right.
at anything other than racing games. I'm very good at racing games. And
Gotcha.
that's
You can
about it.
teach me. Look, I got the wheel. You can teach me sometime.
Yes, definitely.
We'll talk about that later, but I've done a couple iRacing rounds in the last couple days for the first time.
Nice.
It's fun.
iRacing's legit.
Yeah. Um, so your question was, how did I like?
What was your mindset like when you like exploded from like 0 to 50,000, and like was it more of just like you wanted to fine tune and hone it, or was it more of just like, oh wow, and I gotta like really kind of like get my shit together?
I think that as far as getting my shit together, I pretty much always hold myself to like a really high standard, maybe too
Nice.
high in some ways. um, so like that didn't really change, but what did change is the scope of the project. Like initially, I wanted to make. This is why I asked if you played, because initially I was just going to do TTK charts with like the plus 15% range and bullet velocity that you get from suppressors, and basically nothing else. And that was all I was going to do. And then like as it started to explode, I was like, okay, people want more. So we just kept doing more, kept building more features and testing more data and getting more stuff out there. And yeah, that was pretty much the process. It just the scope creep for sure.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, so
Any
nowadays we're a little bit of a downturn. Warzone's not nearly as popular.
thanks, Activision.
Yeah, Warzone's not as popular. There's a bunch of other sites that now do similar things to me, and so we're doing all right, but we're trying to expand and get into other things for sure.
Now, I guess this kind of piggybacks off of like Greg's question or what have you. It's like um, that moment when it like exploded, or that moment when like J God's like, "Hey, you got to check this dude out," because I've been watching guys like Iceman Isaac or whatever, and he
Yeah.
still goes well. And like his videos, he uses your charts, which
Yeah.
is nuts. Like, was there ever like a point where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, these guys are huge. They're talking about my stuff. Like I don't want to say like imposter syndrome's not the right thing. It's like, well, I'm rubbing up like because we get that because like Greg
Yeah.
and I, we know like guys in the automotive sphere like Tavares. He's been on VinWiki with Ed Bolian and stuff like that. Like where I know when I went and met Tavares and we got Greg bought the car from him. I was like, I don't belong here. Like, is there ever a moment where you're like, holy what the hell just happened? Like, you know what I mean?
That's a good question. I would say not really, because it's so you're at least I felt very disconnected from it because it was like just a number on a website. It wasn't like I was famous in person or anything. It was just like, okay, there's a lot of people on the website. That's really cool, but it wasn't like, I wasn't like freaking out because of that. But there was something else I wanted to say, man. My brain sometimes it's just like the thoughts just disappear.
Dude, same.
More like us
I'll
than
get
you
it. I'll get
realize.
it. It's in there somewhere. We'll come back to it.
Yeah. You're
But
good. You're good.
now you said you have a degree in like mechanical engineering. You said, right?
Correct.
So some of that does come with some basic knowledge of like programming, i.e., like working with like CNC machines and things like that.
Uh,
So
yeah. Go on.
was there, and you said you self-taught your all the coding and stuff like that. Now, that's in. Was there any? What was the goal with that prior to like
Hmm.
the idea of holy crap, nobody does this, I can do this? Like, was
Right.
there like a plan to, is there an alternate universe there where
Yeah.
there's true car parts where you're making like
Yeah. So, if we're gonna back up that far, before TGD, right before TGD, I was trying to play professional golf. Believe it or not, I was in Scottsdale playing on mini tours, and um, kind of destroyed my love of golf. Unfortunately, trying to play at that level and like putting that much pressure on it. And now
yeah.
I don't even have any desire to play anymore, which sucks because I used to absolutely love it. Um, so yeah, I was trying to play professional golf, and then when that kind of fizzled out, and I knew that it wasn't happening, I was like, okay, I don't want to go back and work at a desk. Like, I don't want to go sit at a desk and make somebody else rich. And I knew that, if you do programming or web development or anything like that, you can work for yourself pretty easily if you get some connections and things and find projects to work on. So that was the goal there, is like, I didn't want to go back to a desk job, which we can talk about that too. My desk job before doing professional golf was I was an engineer at Caterpillar, so I did a bunch of different jobs on gigantic, huge 8 liter per cylinder diesel engines with 20 cylinders. I did all kinds of different jobs on
Good lord.
those. Um, but yeah, then I self-taught the programming, and then I did like 1 or 2 actual web development jobs, and then TGD came up and just went all in on that.
Man, you have quite the background.
I have a
That's
crazy story, man.
This is great though. Like working on giant Caterpillar machinery, almost professional golfer,
Yep.
full-time streamer slash YouTuber. Like that's like I love that. That's so cool,
Yeah.
honestly.
And I don't even really, it just doesn't feel weird to me because I lived it, but like, yeah, looking back, it was crazy.
Yeah.
The whole sequence of events and everything just lined up for all of it to come together.
Career trajectory.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing you being one of the guys. What the hell? What is it? The John Deere or whatever? It might even be Caterpillar sponsored an event on tour where they have the giant backhoe with the putter head on it and the oversized golf ball.
Yeah.
That's John Deere, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so funny you mentioned the like killing the love of golf because there's a
Yeah.
lot of our chat knows and Greg knows. My professional background was golf. I was in the golf industry for 15 years, 4 in the retail space, and then 11 working at an actual golf course. And I don't think I was ever at your level, but like there was a point where I went down to Seaview and I played the Bay course, and it was the week after the LPGA was there, and
Yep.
I shot 1 under, and I was like, wait
Nice.
a minute, I could possibly do something with this.
Maybe
Like,
I can join the LPGA.
it's like I'm exactly as good as, and I was like, I was like, man, I shot this. What would happen if I did this 2 days in a row? I'd miss the cut with the women. Great, okay.
You have to play the back tees, right? You can't play the women's tees.
No, well, we
Chattacatosaurus stand.
oh my gosh. But
just
no,
kidding.
like so like that like sort of was like, all right, if I actually like because the golf course I worked at was very short, even if you played it from the tips. So pretty much on the front 9, most if not all but one of the par 4s were, if you had firm fairways, was reachable.
Yeah.
You know, the par 5, the first hole was a par 5 that I literally played 3-iron, 8-iron to get on into. Like so like it wasn't
Okay.
a big course, but I was like, you know what? I can force myself to hit long irons better if I just say I can't hit anything over a 5. So I was like practicing. I did the U.S. Open quals and got like humbled a couple of times. Just,
Dude, those are brutal.
That'll happen.
but a guy I worked with, who none of us really liked or what have you, but he had done it. So like that was like the one up, and he was like sort of like the hot, he one day he tied the course record or whatever. You know the type where it's like
Yeah.
his personality is how well he plays golf, right?
Yeah.
And he went like 86, 88 in his 2 rounds of the qual. So I'm like, all right, as long as I beat that, I'm fine. And I actually missed. My first round was like an 85, but then I shot like a 70. And I was like,
Nice.
okay, I missed, but I didn't embarrass myself. But
I mean, if you shot a 70, that's really good.
yeah, and to use the self-taught thing, I'm 100% a former baseball player who taught himself how to hit golf.
Right.
Play,
Yeah.
hit golf? Me, words, good. Not like I do this for a living or anything.
I used to work in a bag room at a country club and was a caddy,
There
so
you
we
go.
all have golf background.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, you came here for the video games and cars, but we're just going to talk about golf for the next
Yeah,
2.5
Sounds good.
hours.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on to good videos.
I played COD with some of the good guys one time.
Oh, nice.
nice.
That's awesome. They seem like pretty chill guys.
Yeah. Very cool.
Sean, Brett, Steve, welcome. No, it's funny. Like Brett said in chat, it's funny. He's part of like my Warzone trio or whatever. And like he'll be sitting here and he'll be like, "Send me a TikTok," like or a TikTok or an Instagram reel or whatever of like some random ass person saying, "You got to try the new meta on blah blah blah," and like you go, and like my first thing is like, "Huh." Well, he's making it look good, but he's probably 2 boxing, and let me check. So I go to your site, and I just send him a picture of the graph. It's done his ass. This guy is playing literal AI.
Yeah. Nowadays it literally could be AI with the new modes.
Well, exactly. And like, I mean, we could go down a whole Warzone tangent. I mean, they're, and I'll end sort of the Warzone thing with, they seem hell-bent on killing the golden goose. Like, all they had to do was make sure that game ran smoothly, didn't have cheaters in it, didn't have, like, that just worked. And they would have continued to print more money than, but here we are. But I did want to sort of pivot. Friends, insert Ross on the staircase here.
Pivot!
But, so... And I think you've mentioned, because if anybody knows, and I'll post a link. Do you mind actually if I post a link to your car Discord? I probably should have asked that before.
No, that's totally fine.
But like just having talked to you or whatever. At what point were you into cars? Like when you were working on heavy machinery, or is that a more recent thing? Like how do you go from engineer golf, revolutionizing Call of Duty to cars?
Or did you get into cars through the Caterpillar machinery?
So I've always kind of been like, I would say car guy adjacent. Like my brother was really into cars when I was growing up. He's older than me, so you want to be like your older brother. He still has actually a 2000 Trans Am W6 that is
Nice.
That is sweet, and he never drives it, unfortunately, but he has it still. So that kind of was always, he always played like racing games. Like I remember sitting in the basement watching him play. I don't remember which Gran Turismo it was, but it had to have been one of the early ones, and never got to play it because he never let me play it because it was his PlayStation, but I loved watching it. So I've always been like sort of a car guy, but not like all in. And over the last, I don't know, it's probably only been like 3 or 4 months now that I've been really getting into it, but it was kind of like I want something new to do. Like I need new things to spend time on, and no one can stop me from buying cool cars right now. So I'm just gonna do it. And
hell yeah, that's the correct mentality.
yeah, I feel I feel like why not? Like I'm 31. I don't want to have a cool car when I'm 60. I want to have it when I'm 31 in San Diego, driving around with the top down, and like, why not?
So what cool cars do you have then? Good segue.
Yeah, good segue. Well, right now I only have one, sort of, but so I'll just do the history of my cars. How about that? That'll be better. That'll lead us into
walk
it.
us through it.
That's perfect.
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My first car was not actually my car, but the car that my parents let me drive was a 2000 Chevy Silverado. Thing was pretty sweet, actually. It was a little 1500.
That's a good truck.
Liked that truck, yeah. So I drove that for like a year or two, and then I was that guy in high school, unfortunately, that my dad bought me a car. So I had a 2012 Dodge Charger RT that I got in 2012. So it was like brand new. That
Nice.
thing was it was okay. It was cool, but it was like it was just a boat, dude. The thing was so heavy, and the
They got better
transmission
over
took
time.
like 4 years to shift, and yeah, it was kind of like it was like the loud car. I got like Flowmaster something on it, and just to make it louder, like a high
As you
school
do.
kid would, and
Yeah.
and then I like from that point I completely 180 and I was like, okay, I'm sick of that. I don't want to do that anymore. So when I went to college, I bought a 2017 Chevy Volt. That was my next car. So it was a little plug-in hybrid. Thing was awesome. Totally underrated car. Should have been explosively popular, but it's a different conversation. Um,
Oh, we can get into that.
we get it.
I love that car actually. The technology behind that was really cool.
It was amazing. It was like 95% of people drive less than 50 miles a day.
Chad's leaving. Hey, Matt Farah owned one of those things and loved that thing. Matt Farah is one of the new gen quintessential car guys. So, I
Yeah,
mean, those things are honestly like from a technology standpoint, they were awesome because
yeah.
it was the engine that like basically was the generator for the rest of the car,
Yeah, it
right?
was a
Yeah,
four-cylinder engine that it could actually like physically disconnect from the wheels if it was doing the generator function, or it could physically connect to
yeah,
the wheels and just drive the car. So it
so
was like
cool.
it could do both, and it would get like 40, 45 miles per gallon on gas, and then had I think the Gen 1 had like 38 miles of electric range, and then Gen 2, which is what I had like 53 miles. So it was like all of my driving around town was electric, and then anytime I needed to
Yeah,
go on a trip, just use gas. It was amazing.
yeah,
Such a cool car.
love that.
Yeah.
So after that, what was next?
So after that, 2022, I got a Tesla Model 3 long range, which I bought the acceleration boost package for, which means it was ridiculously fast compared to things I had owned at least.
Yeah,
It was like 3.7 to 60 and 11.6 or 7 quarter mile, and like they literally don't even advertise that you can get the acceleration boost package for the Model 3. They don't have it anymore, but back then they didn't advertise it because if people knew about it, they just wouldn't buy the performance edition because it was like 10 grand cheaper to just buy the long range. We had better
correct.
ride quality because the shocks and this performance of Gen 1 Model 3s was like so stiff. It just was not fun to ride in. So it was like there was no reason to not get a Model 3, like a long range, and then buy acceleration boost. So I had that for like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. And then the new Model 3 came out, the Highland Model 3, which was like so much better in every way than the first one. Just like way quieter to drive. The suspension was so much better, totally smooth. It felt like going from like a cheap car to like a luxury car almost. The difference from Gen 1 to Gen 2. So I still have that. That's sitting outside. And then in the last 3 months, like I said, I got bored. YOLO. And I bought um well, this story's confusing too, but I bought a 2006 Cayman S, a Porsche
Okay.
Cayman S, and so I had never driven stick before. I wanted to learn how to drive stick. I wanted to experience that before it's like not even a thing anymore. And so this was a manual car that I bought that came in. I learned for about 45 minutes before I went to pick it up. It was up in LA. So I rode the train up to LA, went and picked up the car. And the 45 minutes that I learned on, I was in a Civic Type R, like a newer one, not the newest version, but a newer one. And when the guy gave me the keys to the Cayman and I started trying to drive it, I stalled it probably somewhere in the realm of like 12 to 15 times in the parking lot. And I was like, this feels literally nothing like I had no problems with the Civic at all. The Civic was completely fine.
So forgiving. It's a great manual
Well,
car to drive,
just wait.
but
Yes, but wait. um, so I'm thinking, okay, that's what I thought. I was like, okay, it's just an older car. It's a Porsche, so maybe it just is different. Maybe it's just harder. And so I managed to get it home after, figuring out how to at least get going, because that's the hardest part, obviously. Only stalled it one time on the road on the 2 hour drive home, which was
that's good. Big win.
it's so stressful when you stall a car on like the city streets. Oh
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 my
my
yeah.
God, it's like
gosh.
panic situation. Um, but yeah, only one time. Got home. I had it for like 2 or 3 weeks, probably 2 weeks, and I just could not figure it out. Every time I got in it, I was just afraid to drive it because I was like, I'm just gonna stall it I'm gonna get trapped in the middle of a street, and it just was not fun. It was supposed to be this like fun, exciting thing that I bought, and it was just stressful every time. And also, on top of not being able to do the manual part of it very well, um, it was a 2006 S, which is the generation that can have, I see in the range of years that can have bore scoring pretty commonly, which is still only like 1%, but it's was constantly on my mind because it was like a decent amount of money for me at this point, and I didn't want to have my engine just blow up randomly. Um, so with those two things combined, I was like, all right, you know what? I gave it 2 or 3 weeks. I'm selling it. I can't figure this out. I'm selling it. So I got a great deal on it, which is why I jumped on it so fast. I listed it for sale, and then probably like a week later, I started the process of selling it to somebody, and the guy wanted a PPI because it's the generation that can have bore scoring. So we went and got the PPI done, and it came back that the clutch was just fucked, which it was just totally ruined, and and I had never driven a manual before, so I had no idea.
You're just like, I did that.
No, it was already like that when I got it. It was like that when I got it. I couldn't drive it.
Come on,
Did that go?
you never blame yourself. It's always the car's fault, Greg.
No, but like, did that go through your mind? Just like, oh no, I ruined this car. Like, I ruined the clutch.
No, because
like,
it didn't sound. It felt the same the whole time I had it. It was just impossible to drive the whole time. So I was pretty sure.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't me. And then, so through the process of selling it, I got the clutch replaced, and I got in the first time after getting the clutch replaced, and it was so easy to drive. It was like it was doing like 90% of the work for me.
Oh man.
Now, were those? Sorry, my Porsche knowledge is almost nothing. Were those this flat six, or were those?
Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, because I'm thinking this whole time, like, just my brain. He's like, you went from a turbocharged 4-cylinder, and that was easy, to a 6-cylinder, which should have more torque at like idle. Why is this difficult? And then, of course,
I just had no idea, and I felt so stupid when I got the clutch replaced, and it was like so easy to drive, pretty fun to drive. Like, this is what I wanted, but I wasn't going to back out of the sale. Like, the guy was ready to go. So we got everything repaired. I sold it to him. I made a little bit of a profit, so it was fine. I made like $1,000 profit or something.
That's good.
Yeah. But during that process, because I'm a very impatient person, during the process of selling the Cayman, I was like, okay, so I don't like manual, so I'm going to get an automatic. So I started searching, and I don't really know how I ended up there. I ended up on wanting a 718. So a 718 Boxster Cayman, which is, instead of a flat 6, it's a turbo 4, which just gets so much crap from Porsche people, which I think is ridiculous. But I found one locally that was really good price. So it was a 718 Boxster S. Went and bought it for like $45K, which was a really, really good deal. And so I had that before I even got rid of the Cayman, before I even sold the first Cayman. And that thing is sweet. Obviously, it has PDK, which is awesome. It's very fun to drive. Yeah. But I wanted a manual. Like, I wanted to experience manual. And then I felt like such an idiot after I found out that the clutch was just screwed up or just dead or whatever you want to call it. So then I sat on that for like 2 or 3 weeks with the Boxster. And I was like, this isn't what I wanted. Like, the PDK is so good. It feels like you're driving an EV almost. Like, you can barely feel the shifts. And I was like, I already had EVs. This isn't what I wanted. Like, it was different because it was.
Those are next level. Honestly, PDK is just. It's almost like automatic transmission. Like, just it's peak auto in that sense. Like, there's nothing that really beats it. The only thing that comes close is that like the 8-speed ZF transmission that's in legitimately every car ever right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and the last automatic that I drove a lot was my Charger. So I went from the worst transmission that you can possibly imagine to a PDK. It felt amazing. But
there was still something missing.
Yeah, I went to these Porsches. I was looking at Miatas first because I wanted something completely different than anything I'd ever had before. I wanted something really light, convertible, ideally. So that's why I ended up like on these lightweight sports cars rather than, like another Camaro or something that's like really heavy. But yeah, I also wanted manual because I wanted to experience that. So after the 2 weeks of driving the Boxster, I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy another Cayman. So I went and started shopping for another Cayman. But this time I was smart and I got one of the base models. So the base model Caymans from that generation don't have the bore scoring issues. So don't have to worry about that at all. So now I feel better about driving it. Probably like 2 weeks later, I found one in Scottsdale, flew out to Scottsdale, drove it back. Still no problems with it. I've done some work on it, and it's I'm getting better. I'm getting pretty good at manual. It's very fun. Like you still can't do any like heel toe kind of stuff, but just driving the car like normal, getting pretty good at it, and it's fun. So that's my very long, complicated story. I feel like I've been talking the entire time we've been on this call.
That's the point. You're good. You're the guest. We want you to talk.
So let me ask you a question. From the moment you bought the first one to the moment you bought the third Porsche,
Yeah.
what time frame were we at there?
Let me go look. I can get the exact days, but I bet it's like 3 weeks.
Oh my god!
3 weeks.
When I want something, I want something. Okay.
Holy shit, dude. I thought you were gonna be like, oh no, I had the second one for like 2 or 3 months.
No.
I
It's probably 3 weeks or a month.
Because I remember how like
my God.
we
That's
kind of got
so good.
introduced to each other. Was like you were like asking for advice on a car,
Yeah.
and then and we went there, and then next thing you knew, you had the Boxster, and then there was the
Holy shit,
the 718.
that's fantastic.
And then you were looking at another, like, to get back into the Cayman side of things, and I was like,
Yep.
at first I was like, I thought it was all just like the first two. I thought that was just condensed into like you ended up with the 718. God
No,
bless you
it
for
was
that.
it was a fast turnaround.
It was 3 weeks. That's amazing.
Yeah, because it's like I knew what
That
I
is
wanted. I wanted a
Car
lightweight.
at its finest.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted a
it's so
lightweight
good.
sports car that was manual, and I
And you
just
already
thought I
had the one
hated
you
it
had.
after I got one, and then
Right.
so it just worked out that way,
That's
and
the
I
one
just
you wanted in the first place. So you're just like, oh, okay, let me just go get that.
yeah. Where is the picture of
I
me
did
driving
that.
it home?
I respect the absolute shit out of that. It's so good.
It's like why not? Like
If you can,
YOLO, but-
I applaud it.
What's that one scene from The Simpsons? It's just a meme where it's a grandpa that walks into the bar, puts his hat on the coat rack, gets the coat hat, and then walks right back out. That's
Yep.
you with the second Porsche.
Yep.
Immediately, you're just like, oh, yes, I like this. Nope. And then just goes and gets the Cayman the next week. That's
Yep.
so good.
Yep. Okay.
Weren't you just here?
Oh, my God. I love
actually-
that so much.
Greg, that brings up. How long did you? So, Tony,
Yeah.
unaware. Greg is arguably the face of Volvo on the internet. It's not.
Okay.
That's not a flex. It's that small. It's that small of a community.
Okay.
And like I was telling you before, what blew us up was having Volvos and modding Volvos and doing that. And Greg was the genesis of that with a gray automatic V70R from 2000 something or other, 2004. How long did you have that one before you got the manual one? Because he replaced it for a manual one.
Definitely not 2 weeks, but it was like, this is a cool car. I need the space ball. I need a manual. So I'd say it's probably like 3 months. And I'm just like, we're gonna need to not have an automatic here, because it's very similar to your story to your to the Charger, but I mean it was still a fine transmission. There's an Aisin transmission. He's an AW55. It's like it's fine. It's in a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
It's not like a poor transmission. It's slow. Like I got a transmission fluid flush on it, and it was just like it felt like a brand new car. I'm just like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
But it's still an auto tragic. I need a manual immediately. So and the cars are just cool. They're like 5-cylinder. They sound like nothing else.
Yep.
They look cool. They're old, lowered wagon. It's just a cool thing from like the early 2000s. So like I'm just like, oh, every time I got in the car, I'm just like, I don't like this. So
The Hercules
it's just like,
disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I gotta do something about this. So I immediately started looking at like the cool stuff, and I had gotten that car for like $3,900 from a dealer in Pennsylvania that didn't know what the hell it was. Like they were trading for like 6, 7, 8 grand at that point, and just like the automatics, like I got, and then at that point I'm just like looking at the manuals, and they're like 9, 10, 11,000. I'm like, ooh, that's a price jump. So.
Yeah.
Ended up finding one in New York. It was like kind of salvagey, weird. I don't know. A tree fell on it.
Not only did it
worked
start
fine.
the Volvo tradition with our channel, it also started
Oh, yeah.
the tradition with our channel of having a stupid difficult time registering and getting titles sorted for us. Like,
Yeah, long story short on that car, it had a junk status on it,
Ah,
which means that like usually junk status means like from the port, like something happened in transit when from factory, like oh
mm,
this car is no good, you can't have it on the road, period. So like I went to register it and it had a junk status on, not even salvage, like junk. Like this, it's like this has been driving for like 12 years in New York and Michigan. This is not a junk car, bro. Like chill.
that's
So
crazy.
I did this whole run around, and it turns out that the investigator like could have just like hit two buttons and undone it for me, and I wasted like 2 weeks of my life. Just
Yeah,
like this is the dumbest thing ever. Either way, that car is still on the road. I know the owner of it still, and it's freaking awesome. Great
that's
car.
awesome.
But yeah, it's the same story. It's just like automatic, no.
Yeah.
Manual, very much yes.
what's the transmission in the car you got to replace it?
Oh, an automatic. But here's the thing. The whole reason for that was so my wife could drive it because this is my only car now. At that point, I had two manuals.
sure.
And I was like, all right, I got to make sure well, at least if her car goes down, she could drive this to work. So
It just takes
that was the whole
45
reasoning.
minutes. 45 minutes in
Yeah.
a Civic.
45 minutes in LA to San Diego.
Oh, but what was the other manual car, and what did it do to the Volvo? Tell Tony that story.
Wait, what the Aston?
What about the WRX?
Oh, the WRX. Yeah, that was a terrible one. Yeah, the other manual car I had was a 2014 WRX with the hatchback, which was a great car. Sounded cool.
Looked like an egg.
Looked like an egg, but unfortunately, that one decided to roll down my driveway, and my driveway's steep. Like you can't see it behind me, but it's like
It's
this.
dumb
Yeah.
steep.
And it's very short but very steep. It's like a 8-degree or
Wow.
6-degree incline. It's a pretty steep incline. And it just rolled down the driveway and smashed into the front of the car because the e-brake didn't engage properly. So that was fun.
Yeah, I had
But,
when I got the manual to start with, I had one friend from high school that drove a manual, and I was telling him about it. He's like, "Make sure you put it in gear after you put it, like even after you pull the parking brake," because he was like, "The one time I ever damaged my car was the parking brake didn't hold it in place."
Yep, it's literally exactly the same thing that happened to me. The one time I didn't put my driveway's steep, but my garage is pretty flat.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can have a little rollout, but like I never did it in my garage.
Right.
I did it every time after that. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yep.
But so you have your dream Cayman now. So now you have your Cayman.
Really,
you
the
have the
Boxster's
you have the car you want.
pretty much my dream Boxster as well. Like I think that those cars are my dream car. Really would be like if you know anything about Porsches, the Spider, the 718 Spider, but the roof on that is like unusable. It's like it takes like 5 minutes to take the top on and off, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If they made that car with a real convertible roof, then that would be the real dream car. But like
Yeah.
the amount of car you
But
get for this Boxster, if you just get a tune, you can get an extra
Oh.
100 horsepower, 100 torque if you just get a tune for $1,000. It's
Dude,
crazy.
That's the Germans. They do that. Like the Audis, the Mercs, the Porsches, is like just tune it from like Rennsport or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, here's y'all 100 horsepower. And it's like, sweet,
Yeah, it's literally like
thanks, bro.
30 to 40% more horsepower and torque from $1,000 tune, which is just unbelievable.
Nuts.
Cheat code.
Yeah, and it's like the only thing I can do in California. Chad, you've seen this in the Discord, but I've been like trying to find a way to make this thing faster because I live in California and still pass emissions. And it's like no matter what I do, there's like some gotcha that I can't do it. But I can tune it because I can just undo the tune before I go get emissions done. So I'm gonna do
Yup.
an E30 tune, which the car can actually do stock, and it's gonna make like 130 horsepower and 110 torque more than it makes stock. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be faster than faster than a GT4, like the 4.0 718. Just for a $45,000 car, that's crazy. Crazy.
And
That's
turbos
awesome,
are
though.
also, as Greg, you're well aware, turbos are a cheat code too, because most turbos from factory are so understressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Not Volvos apparently. Volvos are very high stress from factory.
Well,
They
even
don't want you doing anything with them.
Well, they're undersized. Like specifically,
They're
the
small.
back housing is undersized.
Yeah.
There's so
They're
much
small and high
back
strung.
Because I remember when I had the C30, and you had similar stuff with the V70, and even with,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, the turbos are so small that with my little C30, 2.5 liter, 5-cylinder, why they didn't give it the same noise as the P2s like you, Greg, is beyond me. Because if it had that sound, best selling thing that will have ever existed. Just that noise is so good. But I was
Five
getting
cylinders are so confusing to my engineer brain. Like, how's that?
They're confusing to everyone.
How does that make sense?
No, how is it balanced?
Yeah, exactly.
What's that line from Insane Clown Posse? Magnets. How do those work? It's like it's the same
Nobody
thing with
knows.
5 cylinders. Like, 5 cylinders. How do those work?
it's
Yeah,
just
weird.
But I was making more torque than horsepower. Just how small it, because the turbo came on so early, and
Yeah.
you got to be careful in those situations, just because torque early is what bends rods. Fortunately, never found that out. It took me not really getting to enjoy a Mustang to cook an engine. Who knew? But all of the Volvos we've had make power like a diesel. It's insane.
Yeah.
The highest revving engine I have is the Gen 3 and the Mustang, because it could go to like 81 just out of the factory. I don't have the cams or the intake manifold to do it, but like it's nuts to me the way those things made power, and like, but they're so that C30 was such a fun little car. If it just had a shifter that wasn't 17 yards of a throw.
Oh God, yeah, the throws in that were horrible.
That's something I've done to my Cayman. I put in a, what's the company? I can't remember the company, but it's like a racing shifter. It's like it's all metal, and I replaced the whole mechanism because that's what I wanted, is like experience manual, a good manual, rather than the floppy thing that came in there by default.
Yeah,
so it's very like notchy. It's
Yeah.
like, you got the good mechanical stuff to it. Is it like, can you like hear the ka-chunk, like when it like goes right, like
Somewhat, yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool.
So
like what oh, you go ahead, Jen.
I think you're going in the same direction, Greg, so I will.
You never know.
Well, I've known you for almost 30 years. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, probably. So like I was gonna say, so what's next for the car, or what's next for a new car or a different car for you, or are you just like happy with what you got? Like what's sort of like next in the car realm, because you're like,
yeah,
you said you're starting to do you have goals to it? Like give me like a next like year or two for you.
Yeah, so the Cayman I'm going to pretty much keep stock, except for changing the shifting mechanism and the shifter. I also replaced the infotainment in that, which that was an adventure. I bought a $200, looks really good actually, looks almost OEM, from AliExpress, a head unit, and
Nice.
it has wireless Android Auto, wireless CarPlay, and I didn't realize this when I bought it, but if you have the Bose sound system in the car, you have to use like an optical converter box thing, and that doesn't come wired. I thought this thing was completely plug and play. So I thought I was just going to pull the old system out, plug in the new one, and I'd be good to go. And normally that's the case, unless you have Bose audio. So I got this thing like a week ago and opened it up, and I was like, it's not working. Why is it not working? And I saw that the optical box had like 3 wires that were just hanging there, like doing nothing. One was power, one was an accessory power, and one was ground. And obviously power and ground were relatively easy to figure out. I just found the power and ground and spliced them in there, so that was fine. But then my power connector didn't have an accessory power that seemed to do anything when I was checking it on the multimeter. Like, it was just always 0 volts. It didn't seem to change. So on the CAN bus, I was like checking all the different, there's like 10 or 15 different pins on there, and I was just looking for one that seemed to do something when the car was turned on and turn off when the car was turned off. Thankfully, I found one that was like 11.5 volts when the accessory key was on, and 0 when it was off. So I just spliced into that, turned it on, and it worked. I was so happy because I had no idea I was gonna have to do that, and I was just winging it. I was just making stuff up as I went.
God. So it is plug and play unless you have this one specific audio package.
Correct. Unless you have the premium Bose audio package, it's just plug and play.
Stupid Bose ruining your good time.
It sounds so much better now. I got wireless Android Auto in there, wireless CarPlay. It's awesome. But that was an adventure. So for that car, I've already done a bunch of stuff to these cars, which is, I don't have that much more to do for some of them. But for the Cayman, I put on, they call them LED bars. They're like little LED bars that go in 2 of the ports on the front of the car. They look great. They make it very modern looking compared to what it comes with. I changed the wheels. So I had the wheels on the Boxster. I think they're 18 or 19 inch Um, Stock Carrera S wheels. They look really good. The wheels that came on the Cayman were ancient. Like the tires were like 9 years old, and
Cool.
the rims just looked awful. And when I got a PPI done on this one, and the guy was like, "The car looks good, but you got to change the rims and change the tires because they're crap." So I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I will do that." And it just so happened that I already had the Boxster, and I wanted to change the rims on the Boxster anyway. I wanted to get either I like black rims, so I was either gonna like plasti dip them or powder coat them or get different rims. And I was just
Right.
browsing Facebook Marketplace or something one day, and this guy was selling Porsche Sport exhaust for the 718 and um, Oz racing wheels for like super cheap.
Perfect.
And I wanted Porsche Sport exhaust anyway, so it was like it lined up perfectly, and it was like 20 miles from me. So I drove up
That's
there,
awesome.
picked those up, put those on the Boxster, then swapped the Boxster's wheels over to the Cayman, which they fit with the 10 millimeter spacer, thankfully. So now they both look great. I got Porsche Sport exhaust. I installed that on the Boxster right when I got it. That was the first thing I've done to any of the cars that was like significant. Um, Took a while, but I got through it. And then I've done a ton of little tiny things to both cars, like changing the emblems, and the Cayman has LED taillights now, which took like 5 minutes
Right.
to do, but they look it basically I've like modernized the Cayman. I have the infotainment system, I've got the front lights and the rear lights that are like LEDs and look very modern now.
Right. So now you're doing like you got the big stuff that you wanted to get out of the way. Now you're getting into like the nitty gritty of making it like your car, essentially.
Exactly. I love doing that. Like
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
cool.
I want to make it my own and like customize it and
That's
um
nice.
so the Cayman's
One of
mostly done.
us.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Like one of us, one of us.
That's how I am with everything. Like even with like
Great.
odd stuff, like finding these little niche builds that were like better for how I played. And like that was I like to be unique. I didn't want to just use the meta gun. That's like why
Right.
TG started is because I wanted to like find these unique things that were better but different. Um, so the Cayman is mostly done. I need to replace the water pump. I've been avoiding that because it just doesn't sound fun and it's a
They
lot of
rarely
work.
are, let alone a mid-engine car.
Yeah, it just doesn't look fun. So I've been putting that off. Um, the Boxster I got rear-ended in, so that's another story. A month
Oh
after I
no.
got it, I got rear-ended for no reason at a stoplight turning right.
This is an insane story,
I could
Craig.
talk so much about this.
I mean,
Oh my god. Well, if Chad
Do-
knows it and I don't, we have to talk about it now because I now need to know.
do you even want to relive it? Because it's a doozy.
Yeah, I
If you
have
don't want
news
to talk
on it.
about it, you don't have to talk about it.
No, I'll go fast. I have
All right.
new news as of today, thankfully, that's better than the past news. But
Uh-oh.
so I got rear-ended literally on the corner of the police department. So the police department was 100 yards to my right. They've got cameras all over it. We'll talk about that later. But I was just turning right, totally normal right turn at a stoplight. I stopped at the stoplight, guy ran into me for no reason. So thankfully he didn't run away. Totally would have chased him if he had, but the car was still functioning, but the back left wheel got bent in a little bit, so it was like not really drivable, kind of drivable. Something in there is bent. I don't know what exactly, but so this was like 34 days ago or something like that. I have Tesla insurance. They let you insure all your cars, even if they're not Teslas. And
Really?
yeah, which
Interesting.
at the time was awesome because it was literally like half the cost of all the other places. It was like all the other places like Geico and the big insurers. It was like they didn't understand that I was one person, and just because I had three cars doesn't mean that I can drive all three cars at the same time. I'm still only driving 7,000 miles a year,
Yeah.
and my average car value actually went down with these new cars. So like you wouldn't think that it would go up very much, if any,
Yeah.
for my premium, but all of them went up like 40-50% per car, except for Tesla. Tesla went up like $20 per car. It was like they actually took into account that I can't drive all three at once.
Wow.
It was literally Tesla was half the cost of everybody else. So I was really excited about that at the time, but then I got rear-ended, and for the last
Yeah.
for the last month, I got like 33 days ago, like I said, I've probably sent a dozen emails to my adjuster and called at least a dozen times and left half a dozen messages. Nothing. No responses, no phone calls answered, no phone calls returned. Just insane after a month of waiting. And it's like, what can you even do? Because if they don't respond, I don't have any power. I can't.
Right.
What am I supposed to do? So I submitted a complaint through the California Department of Insurance or something, which supposedly can get them to do stuff sometimes. But it's just been incredibly frustrating. And then on top of that, I get rear-ended, so like I'm not going to be at fault pretty much no matter what. But the police department was right there. I'm going to back up a little bit. We parked in the police department parking lot after the accident. Tried to get a policeman to come out and like file a police report. Sat there for 2 hours. Nobody came out. Couldn't get anybody from the police department to come do a report when we were in their parking lot.
In your parking lot.
In the parking lot.
That's insane.
That was ridiculous and frustrating. And so yeah, back to the insurance stuff though. I was trying to get proof. I wanted to get like footage from these cameras because they've got cameras all over the police department that are looking right at the accident. And I wanted to just have that in case something happened. Like this guy didn't have insurance. That's another piece of the puzzle. So he doesn't have insurance, so I had to go through my insurance for it. And the police department just wouldn't give me the footage. So I went through like this request process through the state, and they said, okay, this is a weird case, so we got to escalate it. So it needs another 14 days. And then in the end, I just kept getting denied. So I was like, what's the point of having all these cameras if you're not going to give me the 30-second clip of me getting hit that could potentially help with a lawsuit or something? Like, why are they there if we're not going to use them for something good? So that was super frustrating. The whole process has been terrible.
Oh my God.
But as of today, I finally got on the phone with somebody from Tesla, and
Good.
I've got the estimate into them, and then it was like way higher than their estimate, of course. So now they have to go through the process of like reconciling what the shop said and what they estimated, and so hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, another couple weeks, I'll have some progress. It's been over a month that I haven't had the car now, which is very frustrating.
God. Oh, good luck with it, honestly, and that's insane.
Thank you.
But if you're looking for new insurance, and this is not a sponsored at all,
And don't say it,
but
they pay us.
no, like Haggerty. Haggerty
Yes.
is really good for enthusiasts because they also understand that you're gonna drive your Cayman like 500 miles a month, maybe.
Exactly.
Or you're gonna drive your 718 3,000 miles a month or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they will get that. Like I looked into it when I had multiple cars in that sense and was like, oh, this is really good. And then I downsized and now it's just one car, so there's no need for that.
Right.
But if you have multiple cars in that sense, like they get it because they insure classic cars, they insure $1 million cars, they insure $10 million cars. You know, they understand. So, but they're also very good.
Yeah.
And they're like very enthusiast focused. So I would look there if you're looking for something different.
Love their YouTube channel. Also, I did.
Yes.
They were who I was going to get until I discovered Tesla. So the Tesla insurance.
There
So
you
I
go.
will be going to them after this process.
Good call.
Yeah. They were like easily the second cheapest of all the options because, like you said, they base it on the miles you drive. So it was like
Exactly.
it was just it was crazy that the other ones didn't take
I
that into
should've
account at all.
absolutely. Why didn't you mention Haggerty when I was looking for insurance? Like,
I did.
100% you did not.
I for sure. I will find it in our Facebook chat.
I challenge
I
you
will
to
find
do that.
it. I will find it. I will
'cause, like-
screenshot it, and I will print it out and send it to you via mail.
Because when I was working at the golf course, I'm not kidding, Tony. When I worked at the golf course, I could literally, as long as I lived in a townhome development. So as long as I got onto the main road, I could just put my car in neutral and coast to work. Like it was 3/4 of a mile door
Very
to door.
sweet commute.
Nice.
So, like, I wasn't putting any miles. So any miles I was putting on the Mustang were fun miles.
Right.
So like they were sitting here and like how many miles? So I hold the average person does 14. I did 7.
Yep.
So like, thanks, Greg. I'll be sending you an invoice. But one thing, and this is kind of cool because dog is being a jackass and I got to take him for a walk. I do apologize, but
Life.
yeah, dude, I swear to Christ, this dog knows. Like, I'll do this solo, quiet. Do it with Greg, maybe he interrupts. Do it with a guest, you better believe he's going to start barking. And then I get a text saying, "Can you take the dog out?"
Well, we can't hear him if it's any consolation.
Yeah, well, it's
There's no barking coming through.
the way I have my whole thing set up. It's like there's many sound barriers.
Right.
But my God, when he goes nuts, like he literally barks to the point where he hurts his throat. Like it's a
Oh my
problem to
God.
where like we have to figure out like. And anyway, here's something, and this is why like instantly I'm like I got to get these two talking. Apart from the fact that car guys just love talking to each other. Tony, you have expressed interest. Obviously not on the show, but in the Discord. I put a link in the Facebook chat, guys. I will do it again, and I will be posting it after the show goes off. Definitely want to join it. It's a great place to sit, talk cars, all this other sort of stuff. But you had mentioned an interest in British sports cars, and that's where Gregson, because I could like the font I chose, I can't put the accent in front of his name. He is quite a fan of the British sports car. He's
Yeah.
Yeah.
had an Aston Martin. And Greg, what is your current front engine V8 dream car that you should have bought like 6 months ago?
I know. Jaguar F-Type R.
And Tony had expressed
Yes.
some interest in it. So,
Yes.
Tony-
Chad had mentioned this, that
Yeah.
we were going to talk about this, and now I'm excited.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't. Now I'm more excited.
but the thing I want to say is that Tony, why don't you explain? Obviously, there's a lot of parallels to Porsche, except for it being a little heavy. But why you're into it, and then Greg, some of the pitfalls, some of the good things, some of the bad things about the car, and hopefully by then I can chime in and just tell you guys to get a Coyote.
Yeah. So obviously, as we talked about the timelines, the Porsche purchases were pretty fast. It's like I want this, I'm gonna get it, so I got it. Also, I have the dates now. I bought the Boxster 2 weeks after I bought the first Cayman, and then I bought the second Cayman 5 weeks after I bought the first Cayman. So it was a little bit longer than I thought, but still,
Still, within 2 months for all of that is
Yeah.
very impressive.
a month and a week, ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I knew of the F-Type when I was getting the Boxster, and the reason I didn't really go for the F-Type or didn't look into that more was because, like I said, every car I've ever had has been heavy. I've always had these 5,000-pound behemoths, and I just wanted to experience something completely different. And that's where I started on Miatas, but then, Porsches are cool, so I get a Porsche.
But yeah, Porsches are not Miatas, right? Yeah.
So yeah, I still got the Porsche, but then I looked at the F-Types more after I had the Boxster, and my gosh, that is so much car for the money. And I think I like how they look way more than the Boxster too. So like that's a tough one for me to like get by. The fact that you can get these like 500 and something horsepower supercharged, insane sounding V8s in like a, it's almost like a classier Corvette. That's what it feels like. Like it's convertible. I don't know, just so cool. And the sound they make is amazing.
It is. I mean, it is. They are like everything you're saying is totally spot on. Like, so I've driven through shifting lanes and doing this stuff. Like I've driven basically all of them. I've driven the convertible V6. I've driven the manual V6. I've driven every single V8 version. I've driven all of them, even the SVR. So like, apart from the new ones when they did the facelift, I haven't driven any of those. Not because I just haven't been to like any press events in a couple of years, COVID obviously, and then shit, but whatever. Like, but other than that, they're largely the same cars. It was a facelift. They're now discontinued, what have you.
Yep.
Comparing it to like your Cayman and your Boxster is like, I mean, and you know this is more just for like the chat and the people watching. Like, it's totally wrong because it's not even close to being the same car.
Yeah.
It's like you have to compare it to a 911, and even then, it's still not the right thing because you're talking about like literally the sports car benchmark of all time versus a GT front engine V8 that essentially, it is a sports car. It happens to be a sports car, but it's a GT at heart, right?
Yep.
Like the Porsche was made to be a sports car, and it always has been a sports car. Now it's getting into the GT kind of realm.
Right.
So like it's that sort of juxtaposition, and now the crossover is sort of happening with like the newer generations of 911s after the 997. So personally, I'd much prefer a front-engined V8 Grand Tourer than a rear-engined pure sports car, but that's also just me. I've also owned like different I've owned that in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage from 2007. It's a cool ass car. It's super underpowered, but like everyone looked at it. We're like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I remember me and my buddy who had the reason he got his Aston was because of Doug DeMuro owning the same Aston that I owned,
Yeah.
because Doug sold it to Freddie Tavares, and then Tavares sold it to me. Then I sold it to a guy, and now it's back in Freddie's hands.
Very
So
cool.
it's really cool, like, story with that car. But like, I met my buddy Nick through owning the Aston, and I remember going out to lunch with him one day. And we're going down the road, and these two trucks, just like lifted trucks, come by, and they're just like, "What are those cars? I've never seen anything like it. Is that a Ferrari?" And we're like, "No." Like, they were like totally cool about it. They're like,
Yeah.
"These things are fucking sick." Like,
Right.
it was awesome. It was like, what a cool thing. Like, you get the same thing in like the Jag, and then like around here in northern New Jersey, there's like a 911 or a Cayman or a 714 or 718, like every other car. There's just so many of them. No one really like pays attention to them. But you get like an F-Type R, you get a Aston Martin Vantage. Like, people are just like, "Oh, that's cool. I've never seen that before."
Right. For sure.
So like, it's that you get a bit of difference in that sense. The feel of the car like is gonna be totally different, obviously, and in awesome ways. Because like, your Cayman's almost just like, it's a sports car, and then it's okay, it's got a decent ride.
Yeah.
But like the F-Type, you get into it and you're just like, this is cushy. And then it has a 550 horsepower engine in it. You're like, holy shit, this is a rocket couch.
Yep.
Like, that's sort of like what happens. So to me, like that's really what I love about going towards cars like that, is because it can have that dual personality. Whereas I'm sure you found out with the Cayman, it has that dual personality, but it's always more geared towards sports cars.
The Cayman, especially the Cayman, the Cayman is pretty rough. Like the ride in the Cayman, it's 2008, so it's older, and the ride is just pretty rough. But the Boxster's pretty chill. The Boxster's a lot nicer than the Cayman as far as ride quality.
Yeah, and that's where you get into like the modernization of those cars. Like, if you go back into the same time frame with Jaguar, they had the XKs and the XK, the XKR, and then the XK8. Always has been that front engine V8, but again, still more Grand Tourer than sports car.
Right.
Always had like a big V8, good sound, but again, it's a Jag.
It's a
Jag. It's a Jag. You always have that comfort aspect to it, right?
Yeah.
So, but the older Porsches, going back to the 90s, 911s, and then when the Boxster came out, it was always sports car first, comfort second.
Right.
So if you go down the F-Type rabbit hole, no matter what trim you get, you're always going to get Grand Tourer first, sports car second.
Yeah.
And certain ones just happen to be really, really good. Like the V6 in a manual, sneaky, amazing sports car.
I've heard great things about the V6. Yeah, I've been reading about them, and it seems like people love them.
It's best sounding V6 ever made.
Exactly. That's what I saw.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I'm not a convertible guy. That's one of the two cars I would buy as a convertible.
I think I was a convertible guy, but I love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I didn't think I was gonna like it at all.
It's nice when you live when like the bad weather is like 74 and overcast.
What's that old Lewis Black joke? It's like, and now we go to the weatherman in San Diego, California is the easiest job in the world. Bob, how's the weather? Nice. Back to you.
70 and sunny.
Every day.
But that reminds me of, like, I remember Greg and I used to go to this thing called Test Days. I think I've mentioned it, but the short version of it is we go to a racetrack, Monticello in New York, and the first day you just road test, and like all the OEMs are there, and it's like an auto show, except you can just walk up to them and be like, "Give me the keys," and they hand it to you. And as long as you're back within like a half hour or 45 minutes, they don't care. And then the
first year we went was like, "We can drive these," and they're like, "Yeah." We're like, "This is amazing." I finally went and did it. It's great.
Like, that's where I drove the, what was it? What was the original baby McLaren? The 5 something?
The 570. Or no, we all drove the 570 GT.
And it's like,
it's crazy.
They handed me the keys, and I'm like just standing there like, "You can go." And I was like, "Wait, I don't need like a McLaren rep to like be a ride along."
That's cool.
They're like, "No, you're good."
That's super
cool. Fantastic. Well, this thing's about to see triple digits on public roads. But I always remember that for two things, and it's pertinent to the Jaguar conversation in that, what is it's something 400 is the F-Type, the hot V6 version.
I think it's just the S400.
But it was the supercharged V6, and like the craziest thing about the AJ engines that they put in the F-Type is they're literally the same block, just the V6 has 2 cylinders plugged, which blew my mind.
Cool. from an engineering standpoint, that's like just like, wait, so that's the same, just with less? The fuck? Like,
Yeah.
it's so weird.
That's like
It's super weird, but it's cool.
it's like the Tesla acceleration boost I was talking about earlier. It's like the hardware is capable of it. It's just literally a software switch. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's wild too. It's
that's
just like, oh
dumb.
yeah, here you go, snap, more power.
Yeah, it feels wrong, but it's like that kind of thing happens all the time. We just don't know about it.
But
Yeah,
that thing had 400 horsepower, sounded epic from factory. And that's one thing Jaguar does better than I'd argue almost any other manufacturer in that
from factory.
from
Yeah,
factory sound. The volume is correct, the pops and cracks are correct, all of that is correct. And I remember driving that thing and being like, "Whoa, this is I might like this more than the R because it had all of the R like
yeah.
suspension, all this other sort of stuff on it." So I remember I drove that back, and I think it was the Coupe R. The next day was the best day because at the time, all the same cars you could road test the day before, did the same thing, but you could take it for a lap of the track, which again blew my mind. It's like, okay, you're gonna let all of these totally not at all professional drivers do this, okay? And I'll
Yeah,
never.
the first year some guy stuffed. What was that? The first year we went, the guy stuffed like a CTSV into the wall on the last day.
Oh no.
It was like, oh, that guy's not getting invited back.
There were so many of those. Like that's where I fell in love with the AMG GTS from Mercedes. Like
Yeah,
that's the
That's another one.
if I get a vehicle that only has two pedals, that'll be the one.
Worth it.
And I just remember standing at the Jaguar booth because we knew the Jaguar reps from going to the auto show, from talking to them. You know, they were, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say they were friends of ours, but they knew us and we could have a decent conversation. And Greg's out it was red. I remember that. And he comes
Yep.
back in and he's like, this thing's making a weird noise. I don't know what's going on. I didn't get on it. Like, I pulled off to the side, had the hazard, did all the right things you do on a track with it. And they're looking at him. And then they look at me and they're like, hey, Chad, you want to go drive this and tell us what's wrong with it? And Greg's over here like, what the hell?
Well, what had happened was all the journalists that didn't know how to drive a stick, because it was the manual V6, they roasted the clutch. And I pulled out of a hairpin onto a straightaway, and I went into first, and I shifted to second, and it didn't. And then I tried to go into third, and it didn't. I'm pumping the clutch, just like, are there gears anymore? Like, what
Yeah.
happened? The clutch was just
It's a common
smoked.
thread with you. Like when you took the
Yeah.
V70 out of the track and
Yeah.
I just remember that
Well,
because you smoked my
that
old
car had
Mustang.
450 horsepower with a clutch that was, no, I don't know what it was.
I mean, you say 450
thing.
like it's a lot.
For a
Hey,
manual,
hey, 450 is a lot.
for a 2005 manual Volvo wagon, it's a lot of horsepower.
Right.
So wait, I want to go back to the R, because so is that basically like your dream car right now? Like, would you consider trading in both of yours or one of yours, whatever, or would you get it as like a third kind of vehicle? Like, what's your?
I mean, it has been 3 weeks. Just saying.
I was gonna say, is this just the car du jour? Like, what's the deal?
So I don't have any plans to get an F-Type, but that I could see that being like a car someday. Like I said, I wanted to get like a lightweight car, so that's why I ended up with the Boxster, just because I wanted to
Right.
experience it. And now that it's been run into, annoyingly,
Right.
it might be worth a lot less. So I kind of feel like I just have to keep it for a long time now.
Yeah, sure.
Just big bummer. Oh darn, I have to keep a tuned
Oh,
Boxster
no.
S.
I have to keep this Porsche. Oh darn.
Yeah. So
No, but I get that. Yeah.
it's just the horsepower and the sound the F-Type makes is like intoxicating to me. I wanted something that was very fast in
Yes.
all directions, not just cornering, which is more where obviously the lightweight, Porsche shines.
Sure.
So when I was looking at those F-Type Rs and the SVRs, and they've got the newest gen 575 horsepower, and it's just like,
Yeah.
damn, did I screw up? I like the way those look more. They got 575 horsepower.
So like, I mean, and like I said, it's a totally different driving experience in that sense. But like, they are heavy. They're
Yeah.
like 35. They're the same. Essentially, you kind of hit it like with like they're sort of a British Mustang in that sense.
Yeah.
They're big front engine V8. They're about 35 to 39, 3,800 pounds ish, depending on the trim.
That's lighter than I
So
thought, actually.
yeah, they're not crazy heavy, but they're not heavy either. They're
Right.
not a Cayman. They're not like, and this is not a like Subaru WRX, like small, lightweight, tossable 4-cylinder car, like around 3,000 pounds, 3,200 pounds. You start to get 300, 400, 500 pounds on top of that. You're like, nah, I noticed this weight. This is a lot more than what I was just in, right?
Right.
So you're gonna notice the difference between Cayman and Boxster to this. Even in a 911, which I believe is still lighter in weight. I mean, they're also, again, going back to that standpoint, they're getting into the GT realm because of how
Yeah.
heavy they are, how comfortable they are, but still they're sports car first.
Well, when
And
when Porsche's GT department has to literally redesign the entirety of the front suspension for the GT, all the GT car 911s.
yeah,
You know, I think
Yeah.
Clarkson actually said it best, like, or said it about him. It's like where we now live in a world where like the base 911s are getting closer and closer to a two-door Panamera than what. Or
That's
no,
true.
it was Jason Camisa when
yeah,
he was talking about the GT cars.
but that's true. That's true.
So
They're getting a lot more cushy. But the whole thing is like if you're looking for like an F type, there's some stuff that like you get you get the Britishness of it. That's
Yeah.
not the Germanic of like, oh, this is not going to break. Like, the F types do have like coolant leak problems at like the water pumps. And this actually is all of this is coming from a listing that Chad sent me on Facebook Marketplace, which is literally all of the bad things that happened. This car had all of them done. Like, because I looked
I
them
sent
up,
Tony
like,
the
but
exact same listing, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like coolant lines in the water pump, the rear diff, especially in the 2015s, because it's the only year that came with two-wheel drive. Every other year after 2015 had the four-wheel drive, so the 2015s are insane, like
Yeah.
batshit insane. The supercharger coupler fails apparently, and the injectors, just because it's very high strung. So like that doesn't. It sounds like a lot, but for a British sports car, that's actually not that much. They're
You didn't
pretty
mention
solid
anything
cars.
about the electronics.
Well, yes, but for British sports cars, these do not have a lot of electronic issues. They do have electronic issues because or British, just comes with the territory. But by and large, like even the Aston Martin I had from 2007 had one bad electronic thing happen, and it thought the hood was open, and I just got a red triangle, and I'm just like, nope, I can still see.
The
We're
hood
good.
is not open.
The hood is not open. It's not flappy. Nothing's covered. I'm just gonna turn the car off, and it went away.
Yeah.
So like it's fine. So honestly, I say get it to experience it, but I think you'll miss the manual. I really do,
Yeah.
because for how good those cars are, and for how much that I miss a manual just driving this around, and how much I'd want an F type, I still would think, should I have bought a C6 Z06 Corvette? That would be my biggest like thing in the back of my head. And then I'd get into the F type and I'd be like, no, because this is so much nicer than a C6 Z06
Yeah.
Corvette.
Yes, but you can't
Because
install a cam that'll shake windows.
that's the other thing. Like, yeah, there are good American V8 things that you can do with that car. But just to have that experience of just like British luxury sports car, I mean, you can't really go wrong with an F type bar.
Yeah. Yeah, they look amazing, and just like you were saying, I've seen that like
Do it.
they, from a reliability standpoint, they're not that bad. They're not bad. They're fine.
No, because they have an AJ block, and AJ blocks have been around since the beginning of time, essentially. So like they're really solid mechanically.
Right.
So in theory, could
And they
you
have that
take
ZF 8-speed that I've talked about.
in theory, could you take an F Type R AJ out of an F Type R and plop it into, I'm just going to throw a car out here at complete random, a 2006 Aston Martin V8 Vantage?
Yes, if it fits, and I believe it does.
Well, why wouldn't it? If
Because they
it's-
shoved a V12 into there, so it should fit.
All right. So for the last time, but that's a narrow. Sorry, Tony. You're going to see. Greg and I have had this conversation for a while. The V12 is long. It's a narrow angle V12, so it's not crazy wide. But if it's an AJ block, right? Would the heads be the only difference? Because that's what's going to determine whether or not it'll fit
I
between
don't.
the strut towers.
I don't think so. I think Aston did stuff to it is an AJ block, but I believe that I have to look it up again because I looked it up years ago and I forget what it was. But there are differences enough that you can't just be like yoink and place. It's not a plug and play. It's not as plug and play as you'd think.
I prefer yoink in place to plug and play.
Well, now you have a new term for your audio system. Like, I bought this yoink and play system. It was great.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't ever catch on fire or anything. That'd be a bummer.
Yeah, no.
As someone who's experienced the car fire, do not recommend. 0 stars.
Yeah. Does Tony know that story?
Nope.
Yeah, well, I'll give the so here's the sort of the short history of that car. I bought in December of 2019. I bought a 2015 Mustang GT with the performance and premium packages. So the performance package just gives it the big brakes, better suspension, better cooling. And the brakes and the cooling are so good that you can add boost to it without having to worry about the car overheating, even if you're driving it. And the brakes on the S550 Mustangs, the performance package Brembos with the right pads, are among the most impressive brakes I have ever experienced in any car.
Can confirm.
I have video insane proof of Greg squealing like a little girl because of how good the brakes are.
Yeah.
Like, it does not feel like, because that car was about 3,900 pounds.
Like,
that car was right around 3,900, probably with the supercharger and stuff on it, a little over 4,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So I got it.
That thing breaks.
The whole premise of that car, and selling my Volvo and all this other, the whole premise of that car is I either wanted a Corvette or a Mustang, because those were the two fun sort of American sports car / pony car, whatever you want to call them, that my dad had owned. He had a 59 Corvette that he heavily modified, and he had a 65 Mustang with a high output VA. All the boring nerdy stuff that would make this story way too long. And
like all my stories.
Oh, you're the guest. You're the guest, my friend. So
you keep saying that. I haven't heard a boring story yet. Like, you're good.
So, and at the time, and I don't mean to bring the tenor of the show down or whatever, but at the time, my father was in the early stages of Parkinson's. So his ability to drive and enjoy a drive were soon going to be taken away from him. So I wanted to get something that connected it to his youth. So that American V8 and something I could modify and do something similar, do the modern equivalent of what he did with his Corvette. Because he took the small V8 out and put a 327 in, but it had been bored, stroked, balanced, blueprinted. It was somewhere in the neighborhood of 370, 380 cubic inches by the time they were done with it. But it was a rocket ship. I mean, those cars were fiberglass bathtubs with a frame and weighed nothing. 3-speed manual transmission, no power steering, so it had the massive steering wheel that if you weren't paying attention with the bare metal spokes in it, if you weren't paying attention, like we all the time, we just sort of, if you're in a drift or something and you kind of let the wheel go and catch it, but if you weren't paying attention with that, it would literally just shear the flesh off your finger. And this was totally fine back in the 50s, right?
Yeah, not ideal, but...
No. But it was just one of those things in the 50s. It's like, well, you wanted the Corvette.
American engineering.
Listen, don't get me started on the 356 Spider. So I wanted to get that. So I was looking at C606s, and they were almost in budget, but we were looking at some of these like collector car financial institutions that allow you to finance for longer periods of time. And the reason they allow you to do that is if you pick the right car, that car is going to appreciate. So what a lot of these exotic car buyers do is they buy the car, they put as minimal cash into it, i.e. via a down payment and monthly payments, and then when they turn around and sell it after it's appreciated, they've put a minimal amount of investment but still get all of the profit, apart from a little bit of interest that they may have paid. So it's like, sweet. This came from, again, Ed Bullion over at VinWiki. Turns out they didn't see the Z06 as something that would appreciate. They were wrong. They're about 15,000 for the same exact spec. They're about $15,000 more expensive. It's like a bummer. So I pivoted to the Mustang. Long story short, got the Mustang, headers, intake manifold, tune, made 450 at the wheel, which was about 55 more than stock. But the plan all along was the booster. So you'll see, we have videos on our channel, but I did not spare any expense with this car. The weak point of the S550 is the transmission, the manual box. Got that built. Billet gear set, bronze shift guides, the whole nine. Stop the hops kit from Steeda, carbon fiber drive shaft. What else did I get? Like the mod. Short version of the story is with the supercharger, the fuel system, all of that sort of stuff. It was $29,000 in parts. Put all that stuff on the car. Made 705 at the tire on 93. Spinning, by the way. There was a small pile of what used to be my tires on the back of the dyno.
It made insane power.
And, with the headers and the exhaust, it shook the... Like, they had ventilation flaps out of the back of the dyno room, and we were moving, so much air, not with the exhaust, because they piped that out of the room, but just the volume of the way how fast the dyno was spinning, the flaps were opening up. It was an insane visceral experience.
It was cool.
Sounds really cool. Yeah, sounds scary.
It was fantastic.
It was good. It was good scary. You're just there and you're just like, that's in a room. I'm glad it's in that room and I'm not.
Right.
It's great.
So I was like, this is fantastic. So we're making 705 at the tire, so well over 800 crank. Driving it, enjoying it, come to find out the 305 Nittos that I had on it, the NT05s, weren't really up to the job. The only real tire that was R888Rs, so that's why I had the Steamrollers 325s out back. Drove the car, enjoyed it, took Greg on a drive. I had Greg to drive it, so he could experience actual horsepower. I'm kidding.
Thanks, jerk.
But the funniest thing about the whole build that I think we touched on in one of our videos was installing the supercharger added more horsepower than the third member of Shifting Lanes, our buddy Hanson, who does all of the reviews on the main channel. He has a Veloster N, and my supercharger alone adds more horsepower than his entire car makes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So and I love the car, but the one thing I noticed was if I want to have fun in this thing, I don't. I have to be going very not legal speeds.
Right.
Or be in second gear, but second gear I was knocking, didn't matter what tire I had out on the back. I was knocking the tire off if I wasn't careful. But anyway, I love the car. I was getting to the point where we were finally going to start doing some body mods. Below me in my garage, I have a carbon fiber roof for that car that I've owned for almost 3 years now because my Mustangs keep breaking. So I actually had an appointment with Blue Sky, who does all the work on all of my cars. They're experts in the Coyote platform, yada, yada, yada. Chat knows them all too well. We've had Jeff on there on this show before as well. So I had scheduled with them to do some body work. I was going to get the front bumper replaced because, a previous owner had broken. They have these clips in the bumper. They're not fastened as you would expect with actual fasteners. It's all clips and almost like putting something from IKEA together, right? It just clips into place and then there's one bolt that holds everything. Well, these clips had broken and they had used some sort of glue. And someone had literally tapped me at 3 miles an hour, but the compression of the plastic was enough to break the hold of glue. And I was like, all right, fine. I was going to get a new bumper on it, new rear bumper, carbon fiber mirrors, side skirts, splitter, the whole nine to match the roof. And I had set up the appointment for Blue Sky to do the work. And I go to my buddy, one of our other friends, and we went to the golf sim. And it was early March. Had a great day at the sim, drove home, had a great time driving the car home, parked it. About 2 or 3 hours later, I went to Wawa, which is right there, literally a mile down the road from me. Grabbed some food from Wawa, came back home, and as I'm getting... So I live in a townhome development where the garage is like the basement level, and then above it is the floor that I'm on now, and above me are the bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all the foundations are shared, but none of the walls are. So, and there's this pod. It's like a semicircle, and I'm in the pod, and I go, something's burning. Is someone barbecuing or whatever? And then I get a little closer to my garage door, and smoke is coming out of the hood of my car. I'm like, uh-oh, and I'm starting to smell sulfur. So I'm like, this is an electrical fire. Fuck. Because as an engineer, you know, electrical fires, they burn hot and they're freaking terrible. So I'm like, shit. And at this point, I am now probably the front bumper of my car is same distance as like your face to your monitor right now. I am almost in my house. And if the car goes up, it's not the garage burns down. It's my house burns down and probably half of my neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking about
Gotta get it out of there.
So I turn the car off. I throw it in neutral. I put the e-brake down. I hop out of the car, and I just push it probably like 30 feet away from everything. And I think I've sent you the picture of the picture I took as I'm running away, just to make sure like I have a picture of like where the fire was. And I'm calling 911 this whole time. I get out of the car, do all that stuff. I'm on the phone with 911. I'm telling them, hey, my car's on fire. Here's my location. Get someone here fast. Like, it's going to be a bad time if this goes any further. So I run upstairs. Right behind me is our fire extinguisher. I grab that. And in the time it took me to run upstairs or to push the car, pull the e-brake, run upstairs, grab the fire extinguisher, run back downstairs. There were cops on the scene putting the fire out.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like,
that's very similar to my experience when I got rear-ended.
You know, they were there. They had to be in the area. I don't know what it was. I just thank God that they were. So we find out that it was the battery had overheated and just let go. It just caught fire.
Yeah.
So obviously stuff like the wiring harness was cooked, the fuel rail, like we were so close to catching the fuel on fire that fuel had actually started from the heat weeping out of the fuel rail. Like, not a lot.
It was so close to that whole area. I thought it was a fuel fire. Like, I thought a fuel line had let go. It's like, oh, and then fuel spilled onto something crazy hot and then ignited. Like, that's how close it was. And then you look in there and there's a giant hole like blown in the side of the battery.
So
and I'm like, oh, that wasn't a fuel fire at all. Holy crap.
If you're looking at the engine with the hood open, the battery is in the back left by the firewall. There's a secondary firewall protecting the battery. The fire had gotten so hot that it punched about, I would say, a 2-inch hole through this probably 1/4-inch thick piece of steel. And that's
blue, like full on blue.
But everyone I talked to, the insurance adjuster, the guys who at the junkyard who had seen some of this stuff before, Jeff at Blue Sky, who knows cars inside out and backwards and has forgotten more about, you know, small block Fords than I will ever know. They all said, like unprompted, said that I was between 30 and 60 seconds away from the fuel line catching fire and the whole car burning to the ground. So wiring harness shot, the fuel rail was shot, some of the wiring, we weren't sure about the injectors. So like when the time comes, I'm sending those injectors back to Injector Dynamics, have them refurbished and having them shipped back to me just so I have a matched set. So with the injectors, all 8 injectors have the exact same flow rate within a very small margin for error, or deviation, I should say.
Wait, hang on. All right, I've heard this story a million times, and I'm sorry your car burned down, but hang on, I got to go back. The cops were faster on you getting rear-ended than you being outside of a police station to get a police report done.
No, I was a joke.
You're literally pulling in. I was going to say, wait a second, hang on.
No,
I thought someone actually came out at first, and then you
pulled
in.
No, so I got rear-ended.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Rear-ended, pulled into the parking lot, and sat there for 2.5 hours. And we were in the police department parking lot and could not get somebody to come out.
No,
Offices were closed that day, but I know they were in there because I saw them leaving in their cop cars out the back.
I was gonna say, wait a second. Hang on, did I hear something wrong about this story? No, all right.
No, they never.
I was
They
gonna
never
say,
showed up.
holy crap, there's no way that happened.
Nope.
So anyway,
All right. Anyway, that's crazy.
fire's out. I'm looking at it. I'm talking with the guys. I'm bummed, but there's like a weird thing in that moment to where I was so much more thankful that my car was the only thing damaged
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yeah.
So car gets towed, goes to the adjuster. Given
What
how quickly
happens in that case? If it's something, in this case, it wasn't something you did, but if you modified the car a bunch and it made the car catch on fire, what happens with insurance? Like, if it's your fault.
so it's
Funny you should ask.
so let me backtrack because like a fun part of this particular story is the fact that I purchased the car for $25,000. Well, not immediately. That'll become important in a moment. So as when it comes to insurance companies and modifying cars, if you literally sit here and tell them Esurance, the company I have, you literally check a box. My car is modified. I plan to modify my car. It doesn't add much. I think at most they'll cover is like $3,000, which in my case wouldn't cover the transmission, wouldn't cover the supercharger, wouldn't cover the fuel system. Like, like the list of things it wouldn't cover outweighs the things it would cover. The carbon fiber drive shaft. Actually, it would have covered that. That was only $2,000. So like, at least in New Jersey, right? Like I know in California, they would, wait, you modified your car and they send you to Alaska for 6 months.
Send you to the gulags.
Yeah, pretty much like hard labor. And there's no 1v1 to get out.
Exactly. You're stuck.
So I talked because like when I looked at the parts bill, and Greg will tell you the pile of parts because we did a video together just going over all of the parts that I had put into this
Inordinate amount of parts.
So the insurance company was, I mean, that's why it was so insane when you were telling your story about how in the time it took you to have your accident and today, my insurance company had we had filed a claim, we had sent an adjuster out, they had sent a second adjuster out because here's the thing, in that particular situation, what basically came down to was a part of the car that failed was unmodified.
Right.
It wasn't because it's not like I don't even know what the best way to it wasn't like I was at a track day and hit a cone and ripped my front bumper off or something like that. It was literally the battery had failed, and it was very obvious that the battery had failed. And it was I didn't mess with the car audio or anything, so we hadn't messed with anything electrical on the car.
If anyone's watching in the future, I definitely didn't do anything in the Cayman electrical. Nope. Definitely didn't do any modifications.
I'm just saying, dude. If all they have
put it as unlisted. Just let us know.
Tony, there's a video. It's one of my best Mustang videos. It doesn't have a ton of views, but one of the best Mustang videos outside of the dyno stuff was quite literally me listing all of the parts that had been put on it and the value of them.
Yeah.
So the insurance company, and the only thing it took long for me to get a result, and the biggest delaying factor were two things. Number one, it was they didn't know what the fire had done to the metal in the frame rail that was underneath the battery. So there's a frame rail that comes out that connects with the subframe right there. And it's hardened metal, heat-treated metal. Like, obviously, as an engineer, you understand. So heat was introduced to it. So as you're well aware, it tempers it, or it removes the temper. It makes it softer. And they had no way of going in there, shade of taking literally everything off the front of the car and doing multiple hardness tests. And even then, they couldn't guarantee that it was that way all the way through.
Right.
So that's what ended up totaling the car. They totaled it. And then from there, the only thing that was a pain in the ass was the titling, because I wanted the car back.
Right.
because worst case scenario, and what ended up having to happen just because life, I have all those parts, and the only things that were affected was the injectors, and the intake manifold had some blistering on it from the heat because,
Right.
yay, let's all make plastic manifolds. So,
Solid, solid.
but at the end of the day, again, I bought this car for $25,000. At the end of the day, with me getting the car back, so I got the car back, and I got a check from them for $35,000.
Dang.
Now, there's a couple things at play there, but a lot of it has to do with the inflation because the value of because this was not last year, the year before. So the value of I bought that car. I bought the same spec Mustang 5 years later for 10 grand more. Like inflation was a playing factor.
Right.
So, the original plan was we were going to put all that stuff onto the new car and have a car that now was probably going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of, 760, 780 wheel horsepower, which I wasn't super keen on because I couldn't enjoy it. I have to go to a track to enjoy it.
Right.
And not for nothing, the last time I took the silver car to the track, it was pushing so much air through the headers that I blew where the connection was. I just literally the air volume just pushed the back half of my exhaust off at 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, that was fun. You came in, you're just like, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah. So I was just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do that again. I've done the whole mega powerful thing. Greg, take a moment. I've done the mega powerful car thing for a moment. And while there is something insanely intoxicating about that,
Yeah.
there is something about sitting at a light and having, there's a pretty good car culture by me. Like, next to the Wawa, there's a Wendy's, and in the parking lot every Thursday during the summer, they have a pretty sizable car show. So there's a lot of car culture in my hometown. But it's funny. There's something just someone pulls up to me and pick there was a kid in a modified Civic that always loved revving at me because he had turbocharged it and he now could take on Mustangs stock.
Right.
So there's something about that. I had an interaction with a kid, and I'm not the guy who's going to sit here and be like, you show up with your Porsche and be like, I've done this, and it's like, I'm not the type of guy who's just like, oh really, and then just slap my dick on the table with my car makes almost twice the horsepower. I'm not that guy. I am very firmly of the mindset of fostering car enthusiasm, fostering car culture. If you think it's cool, it's cool. I don't care what anybody else says. It might not be something I'd go out and buy, but I respect the enthusiasm, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how I try to be with almost everything nowadays because there's so much negativity about everything out there. If you're excited about something, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. I want to support that.
Absolutely. There's so much one-upsmanship. There's so much of that, and I blame the internet because it gave people a voice without consequence, right?
Yep.
That keyboard
anonymity.
Courage. But I'll always remember this to the day I die. I was in the Wawa parking lot and there's a bunch of kids in town, at 27 or younger, right? They're young. And this kid has a Volkswagen Jetta GLI, which is, if you're not unaware, the Golf GTI, the hatchback. The Jetta GLI is the sedan variant. And he had some pretty serious work. He had a bigger turbo. You could tell it was done right. And he's proud of his car, and he should be. It was an awesome car.
Right.
Then he started talking, and again, it was the whole because Mustangs are such affordable performance. Everybody's goal is to beat a Mustang, a stock one. Out of the fact, I'm not saying it's your goal, but I mod it and I could take down a Mustang. It's I
just want to beat the soccer moms in their Tesla Model Ys and Model 3s. That's
good luck
that's
doing
my
that
goal.
with internal combustion.
I got it with this E32, no problem. The only thing that's gonna beat me is performance models.
Okay. But this kid in his Jetta starts going. He's like, "I got something for your Mustang." Blah blah blah. Number one, I don't street race. Well, what's the statute of limitations on that? I did when I was in college.
Yeah.
Literally after baseball practice, we had a piece of the parking lot at the college that was like, I think, a quarter mile long. Excuse me. So we do eighth mile, and we were full on Fast and the Furious, like, an Integra GSR, I had a supercharged Focus at the time. We're talking stuff that maybe made 300 horsepower.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Jerry, who had a WS6 Trans Am, so he was kind of like the top dog. Like, we did all that sort of stuff. I lived that stuff. I saw someone lose control and fucking send their front wheel under their engine and then the engine through the hood.
Yeah.
So I'm like, as I got older and more mature, if you want to race, we go to the track. Because we have a track that's 10, 15 minutes from my house, right? Right there. Test and tune isn't that expensive, yada, yada. It's like, so the kid's talking shit. Oh, I got something for it. I'm making more than that Mustang makes at the tire. Blah, blah, blah. I got this. I got that. Blah, blah, blah. It's tuned by so-and-so. I got, this suspension, blah, blah, blah. And I look him dead in the eye and I go, that's awesome, dude. That is a phenomenal car. If you want to run, I'm happy to. Island Dragway's right up the street. Meet me there on Friday. I think it'll be fun. I don't care who wins. But I do want to point out a couple things to you. So I bring him to the front of the car and I go, I'm not trying to be a dick, but just in case you feel like talking ish to someone in the future, things to be on the lookout for. Number one, look at the tires. If it starts with a 3, that should start some things going in your head. That's number one. And then number two, I got him at the angle and he goes, wait, is that your radiator or is that a front mount? I go, it's a front mount intercooler. And he just thump, like the light just left his face. And I go, just remember, if they've got gray in the beard, chances are they can afford ridiculous things, right? And I go, look, man, I don't want this to be me shitting on your car. I think your car is awesome. I think it's amazing. I still want to go to the track because I think it would make for great content, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, you got YouTube? And stuff. I would love to do a build, like, what was it? Hoonigan, one of their channels, used to do this series called Build Biology. And they'd take a car and they'd go through all, like, the mods to it. And as someone who cannot leave a car stock, I loved it. And I would love to go over it because I think it's a really cool car. I've owned Volvos, dude. Like, I'm into everything.
Yep.
He never texted me back because, at the risk of sounding like, fuck it, I'm almost 42. But obviously the kid was like, he loved his car, but I'm guessing, other things when we're that age are more important.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like but at any rate, having that power is cool and all. Having that power is fun. Having that ability to, not really have to say anything and kind of know, hey, I've got 99% of shit on the street right now.
Yeah.
Is great. But when it comes to using it, I mean, Greg will tell you, I barely got above 5,000. Like, we did a rip on our test road that shall remain nameless for obvious reasons. But I didn't leave third gear. And I didn't get above 5, maybe 6,000 RPM. In that car, and and I wasn't like hammering on it, I wasn't treating it like a track day because I do actually have, respect for the road. And guess what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're in your lane, if you're going around a corner and someone's not in theirs.
Yeah.
That big accident happens.
That's a good case for the Cayman and the Miata, like what you were talking about, Tony. Like,
right. Which is why
you have these giant cars like with massive power, and then you're like, oh, this Cayman can give me like 9/10 of what I want on the street.
Yeah, that's
like,
what's so cool about the Cayman. Yeah, the combination of the two cars is great because the Cayman is slow. Like, it's just slow, but it's a blast to drive because you can floor it for.
It's way more fun to drive a slow car fast than it is to drive a fast car slow.
Yes.
So that's why the inspiration for my next car was, I'm just going to go NA. And I chuckled when you guys were talking about the Jag at 575 horsepower. And I'm like, damn it, because the Coyote that I'm going to eventually end up having is going to make more than that without a supercharger. I was like,
Yeah.
But
I
even,
can't
but
help
even,
myself.
but even the F types, like that's borderline like
Well, what do we always
not
say?
usable power. 400 to 500 is the
If it's rear-wheel
best
drive, for
street.
sure. That's
Yeah,
one of the
for
reasons why
sure.
I like the F-Type. I know a lot of people don't like it for that reason, but it's all-wheel drive. So like you can actually
Yeah,
put that power down
that's true.
and 3 seconds 0 to 60. Like, yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
But
Do you? I
Gregson.
think well, there was one other question. Like, do you? I'm looking at I'm looking at our like shot sheet of like what we
Yeah.
want to talk about. Um, was there something that or is there a dream like we were talking about like F types and like is there like a dream car for you like other than like the F type or like a dream build of a car like for you in that sense or is it more of just like no I have what I have I'm good like
I so I think it depends on your current situation. So like for me, with my financial spot right now, I wouldn't want to drive a car that's like 100 grand because I would be so worried that it's going to get damaged or something like that. Just I couldn't do
yeah
that. So for me, it's like hard to put myself in the shoes of being a multimillionaire where I can just buy whatever and get it. But I think my answer to the question would probably be like a probably like a Targa, a Porsche Targa 4S 911. I love the
nice
Targas are sweet and I like I said the Spider is really the one I would want to answer with, but it's like I want a convertible that's functional. I don't want a convertible that I have to get out of the car and have help with for 3 minutes to get the convertible roof down. Like
no
that's just
speedster
so still yeah, speedsters are cool.
yeah
Um, so the answer would be the Spider if not for the convertible being ridiculous.
yeah
So that's why I feel really lucky because I feel like I'm already really close to that. Like I have the Boxster, 718 Boxster,
right
and with a tune, it's going to be faster than the Spider, like the base Spider at least. So it's like I don't know, I'm already pretty close to that, so I feel really lucky.
yeah that's cool
That is the most mature, sensible. Like, this isn't. I'm not shitting on it. Please don't take it that way.
No, no, you're
No,
good.
but like, it's like
what a stupid idea jeez
okay. I'll modify that question.
no
Let's just say
no.
money wasn't an issue. Are we
Okay.
talking? Are we staying in the Porsche family? Is it like a 918 or is it a GT2 or is there?
So I same with like people obsess about like the GT3 RS. I'm like I don't want that. I don't want to drive that around the street. That's literally a race car that like just happens to be on the street, and I just it doesn't sound like enjoyable to me. Um, that's a good question. I mean, if I had unlimited money, some of the stuff that like Koenigsegg's putting out recently is just crazy.
Okay,
Like
I had
watching
a
those
feeling you
videos
might
of
go in that direction.
yeah, like these
from an
new
engineering
transmissions.
standpoint
Was that?
was it from an engineering
Yeah,
standpoint wild
insane. Like this new manual but also automatic transmission that they just came out with the
oh
50-year
yeah
anniversary or whatever it is.
what was that on the 850 CCS or whatever it
Yeah,
was? Yeah, insane.
yeah, such a cool car. And I love the dude who
Yeah,
runs it because he's just like Christian von Koenigsegg or whatever his name is.
He
He
is
just seems like
such a cool dude.
he's just
yeah,
like a genius. He loves what he does, and he just makes the like some of the best cars on the planet. And I just think that's really cool.
yeah. We had a very cool opportunity. We met him and talked to him at the
Really?
Mercado show back in like 2014, 2015, right when we started doing like the website for shifting lanes, which
Yeah,
we no longer basically use. But he sat and talked to us for like 15, 20 minutes, just like three nobodies. So just like, yeah, let's talk cars. It's
that's
like you can
amazing.
tell he
Yeah,
was like a car dude. Like just
yeah, that's the way
awesome.
he
It was
comes
like such a
off in his videos. Like that's how he comes off.
100%. He's just like his what's the thing? He's like, if I had 1 gallon of gas left on the planet, I'd put it in my Miata because it's like the most fun I've ever had in a car because I understand like what a Miata is and it's like the pure driving experience. It's just like, all right, well, you're a car person. I
Yeah,
understand now. Like it just his mind is just it's awesome.
yeah, yeah. He seems really cool.
Yeah. And he makes cool cars. So yeah, money no object. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I'm so weird in that respect. Like I don't know. Like I respect the living hell out of hypercars and like the technology and the pushing boundaries of. Wait, you're gonna give anyone with a big enough wallet what kind, like, anyone who can cut a $300,000 check can go out and buy a ZR1X, or they're going to be able to do that. That is insane to me. Like a car that can get to 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds, quarter mile in less than 9 seconds, have like the ZR1 handling package, which is just, and that is absurd.
Yeah.
Um,
The ZR1X looks crazy. I'm
Dude,
looking forward to
nuts.
seeing the Nürburgring time for the ZR1 and the ZR1X.
yeah, that needs to come out.
Yeah.
Just, but at any rate, speaking of like the ring, right? So we just had, I don't know if you followed as like insanely as I do. I am a sports car racing, I don't know what the word is, but probably to a fault I watch sports car racing. And June is arguably the golden month for that because we had the 24 hours of Le Mans, we had the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, we had the
I didn't even know that existed, so that tells you how much I watch. I didn't
So I
know
guess
they did
that kind of
24 hours
answers the
Nürburgring.
follow-up question of, is there any sort of like motorsport that you follow that you're into, or is it more of a, I like fast cars, I'll just go, you mentioned sim racing earlier,
Yeah.
or
So like I said, my brother was really into racing when I was a kid, and he always was into NASCAR. So he watched a lot of NASCAR. So I watched NASCAR when I was little. Nowadays, I don't watch anything, but as we're seeing, I'm starting to get more into this stuff. So F1's really interesting to me because of the engineering aspect of it. Like there's so much
So
within the
much.
constraints of what they're doing, but like they're allowed to do whatever they want inside that area, which I think is very unique compared to like NASCAR, where it's like everyone has the same car, or they're trying to have the same car, and it's
Oh, it
just
is
about
the same
racing.
NASCAR is the same car. The engine and the bodywork is what's different, but they
Yeah,
literally have a, I forget what it is, but the NASCAR basically sends teams out a chassis, and
yeah,
then they go
Yeah.
from there.
right.
I respect the hell out of NASCAR for the driver element of it, just because they're literally driving one of the heaviest race cars out there, apart from like the semi trucks that race at Dakar, which why?
Crazy. Those things are so cool.
On tires that really aren't up to the task, with cars that don't look it but are still ridiculously aero sensitive and make a ton of horsepower like that. But like you said, Formula One and the tech involved and what they're doing, and how like Mercedes got an advantage for having pre-chamber ignition, which
Yeah,
was, massive, um, and all that stuff. If you like the tech involved, go look at the last days of LMP1 at Le Mans with the Audi R18, the Toyota, and the Porsche 919. Just the tech involved there.
yeah.
They were on par, if not exceeding Formula One at the time, which is
Wow.
why the series failed because it cost way too much money. They were on a they were spending the same amount of money on Formula One, but instead of 20 some odd races, they were doing like 10 or 12. So like that gives you the
Yeah.
idea. But
Yeah,
Greg and I have talked about this ad nauseum, and like a lot of things for me as far as like content, as far as like my PC setup, all that's my studio. As you can see, I'm like literally sitting in front of my kitchen.
yeah.
Um, is
Well, this was my bedroom until like 2 months ago for the last 5 years. So I have a second room now.
Nice.
so, but like when I move, one of the things I want to do is get a sim rig and get into sim racing, because like right now I did the Forza, the Gran Turismo.
Yeah,
I now have a Assetto Corsa Competizione because I'm a GT3 and it was at the time the only game that had the Mustang GT3, and
yep,
I'm a Mustang simp. What are you gonna do? But like, I think sim racing is crazy interesting for tonight in that it blends both of your worlds, or not
yeah.
both of your worlds, but you get the idea. Cars and
I mean,
video
yeah,
games.
everything. It's like programming, engineering, simulation, cars, video games. Like it's everything, all in one package.
And so what? So you, what Sims are you playing at the moment?
So I've started playing Assetto Corsa and iRacing. Assetto Corsa is cool because it has the Boxster 718S in it. So I'm literally like
Nice.
planning on going to Willow Springs with my car at some point. So I'm practicing in Assetto Corsa with
That's
my
cool.
car, which
Nice.
I wish so much that iRacing had my car, but it does not.
That almost sounds like almost sounds like a YouTube video for your second channel.
Oh, 100%. I plan on doing stuff once I get the website that's going with it along. Once I get that finished, I'm gonna do all kinds of videos.
Sounds awesome. Another cool thing about Assetto Corsa, I fortunately haven't really dived too much in it, but the modding scene in that is
Yeah, so I did all that
absurd.
yesterday. Like I did all graphics mods yesterday. I subscribed to the guys on Patreon, and these dudes that are making mods for Assetto Corsa are making 50 grand a month on Patreon subscriptions.
What?
Yeah, it's public. It shows it on there. They're making 50 grand a month on just making Assetto Corsa mods. Insane, crazy. I'm like, what am I doing with my
So
life?
I'm going to quit my job and
Exactly.
learn to do that.
Yeah. So I got all those installed last night. Got them
That's
working,
wild.
and been running it with the. I picked up this Quest 3 for like $350 used,
Nice.
and that's pretty cool. Racing in VR, I feel like that makes it more realistic for practicing for real life because you actually have depth perception. Then you can like feel the track rather than having it just be a 2D screen in front of you.
Like a
Um,
hyper immersive like scenario.
yeah,
That's cool.
I don't know. I've got VR is still kind of disappointing to me. Like it just the resolution's not there yet because PCs just simply aren't powerful enough to push a high enough resolution that it looks, at least to my eyes, crisp at all. Like it's just I got a 4090, 9950 X3D, like the most powerful PC besides the 5090 that you could build right now, and I still can't push everything all the way up with the Quest 3 in Assetto Corsa, and it still
Mm.
doesn't look that good. Like it still looks way worse than it when it does on a monitor. So that's the one disappointing part about it to me. But just the fact that it's immersive and you can actually have depth perception for the corners and braking and things, I think it's worth it to try to not care about the visual fidelity so much. Um,
Well, if you're going for hyper realism in that sense, like the visuals, they'll come with when you're actually on track at Willow
exactly,
Springs with your car.
exactly.
Like it's more interesting to like get into it in that sense. Is like immerse yourself as much as you humanly can without physically being there. Do that.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. So that's basically why I'm playing Assetto Corsa
That's cool.
is just because I want to practice with my real car in the game and take it to the tracks someday. iRacing I think is the more like official one to most people. So my brother's done iRacing on and off for 5 or 10 years, and he's been trying to get me to do it forever. And now I'm finally getting into it a little bit. So I've only done like 2 races, but I did a M2 competition race and then a Formula V race in iRacing a couple days ago, and I'm okay. I think for somebody who's never really done it before, I don't think I'm awful, but I'm not good by any means.
yeah, and
Well,
from what I
two races in, if you're winning everything, it's time to go pro immediately.
No,
well,
not winning. Not winning.
Yeah.
With the M2, it was like trying to keep it on the track and not get in a wreck, and you finish middle to upper middle of the pack just by not crashing because it's the rookie league. Um,
yeah,
Yeah.
Formula V, I was a lot faster in for some reason. I don't know why. I only did 1 race, so maybe it was just a weak field that I was against. But I probably was like top 3 in the lobby for the Formula V. Um,
Nice.
well, those, from what I understand, those cars respond better to smooth
mm,
inputs. They're momentum cars, from what I understand. Like what I understand, they're based off of. You
they
know, they
barely go
make
like miles an hour, super slow.
they're so slow. So really getting turn in and braking correct is arguably 99% of the game there.
Yeah,
I got to this is years ago. I got a chance to do Skip Barber, and I did their little formula car, and it was basically no power. It was just there to teach you effectively to listen to what the car's telling you. It's more of a feel thing. Something,
yeah,
unfortunately, unless you have one of those crazy hydraulic rigs,
yeah.
you're not going to feel in a sim.
Right.
But I just remember, like, if you got turn in wrong, your top speed at the end of the straight, which wasn't much, was a lot less. And man, it's, like I said, I've been after Greg. Like, sim racing is something I want to get into, just because, man, look, you don't have to spend a metric ass ton of money. I mean, shit, you could get a decent-ish rig and do Gran Turismo. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's the real driving simulator, which is what they say it is,
Right.
even though 99.9% of their player base is on a roller. But
Yeah.
I don't know too many people outside of the military who are driving people or cars on a controller. Um, but like even so, it's just pretty easy to get into. You don't have to spend a ton of money, and it's just right now the problem is if I was to put a sim rig in here, nobody'd be able to get into the kitchen. So it's like it's like cool for
Yeah.
me, not so much for everyone else. But
Food's not that important.
Necessary sacrifice.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fine. It's fine.
so I
I just
guess
think it's
that
cool. It's fascinating to me how realistic they are. Like listening to like F1 drivers talk about it
Yeah.
and how it's like they can actually use iRacing to like prepare for an event at some level. That's
Yeah.
crazy to me. That's so cool because the understanding like the engineering of it and the physics of it, they have to be. There's no way they're real time simulating what's actually happening in the real world. They've found ways to emulate what's happening in the real world with calculations that are way faster somehow. So they've found like shortcuts to do this stuff that it's still like 99.8% accurate, and that is fascinating to me. I think like thinking about how I would even go about doing that from a programming perspective is really intriguing.
Yeah, like how do you get all the parameters? Like you were saying, like for TGD, like how do you get all the parameters for each individual aspect of weaponry
Yeah.
and all that? How do you do that for cars? Like that just to get the telemetry down. Only the telemetry of like gas consumption, spring rates, it just any aspect
Yeah.
is
tires. Think about
wild.
how insane it
Tires
is
are
with
the
Oh
the
big
yeah,
one.
tires,
Tires
tire
crazy.
and how like a
tire wear.
Sebring has a completely different surface to a Le Mans, to which has a completely
Yeah,
different surface to Daytona,
the
which
graining, the grain,
and like
it's
coefficients
wild.
of friction and tire wear and like
Yeah.
these legend like I I it's one of those things where you have an idea from a programmer. Look, I look at it and I'm like, and like, and from what
Yeah,
I understand, iRacing doesn't even like it's a work in progress because I
Yeah.
think one of the big things was yeah, it was in iRacing, the hypercar slash LMDH cars, the cars, the top class at Le Mans or the 24 Hours of Daytona, etc. Their tire model was wrong, so like these
Yeah.
cars were getting mega tire stints, and that wasn't really the case. And like getting initial like how modeling tire wear, modeling like you might get initial bite from a tire, but then it'll slip, and
Yep.
how that works with a digital clutch and driveline.
It's
It's over my
it's
pay grade.
crazy. Like the people that are building that stuff are absolute geniuses. Like that's next level stuff to be able to take the real world and condense it down into something that can be real time simulated in a game
Online too.
online.
yeah,
And it's just and the fact that every different tire, every different car, they have different weights, they have different centers of mass, and all of these things are different between all the cars, and they've created a model that can handle all of that. And it's not perfect, like you said, it's a constant work in progress. But the fact that it's as close as it is
yeah.
mind-boggling.
The fact that it can be done at all
Yeah.
in a semi-consistent basis between different users all over the world
Yep.
in the same place with different like pings and different setups and different everything.
Yeah.
Honestly, from the cars themselves in the game, the programming of the cars to the hardware that the users are using, like you're right, like it is absolute like genius.
Yep.
It's how have we gone from Pong to this in the span of like 50 years,
Yeah.
maybe less.
Yeah.
Like from a programming standpoint, is just it literally melts my brain. I have no idea how like it is absolutely wild,
It's
and it's one of the
incredible, yeah.
coolest things. It's really cool. I also want to get into sim racing, but yeah, I need to get back into gaming. I haven't done it in so many years at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh, I still
Yeah.
remember those dumbass races we had back on Project Cars. Just
Mm.
like thinking
Yes,
about it.
Project Cars is a great game.
I played
Oh,
Project Cars.
that
That's
was
a
a good.
great game.
That was. I
That
love.
was probably the closest one at the time to like a true sim because of well, I mean the sounds itself too. Like it was the only game that had like straight cut gear sounds and did them properly. Like it was, and they had like full GT3 cars. Like they had good balance of power stuff. It was a lot, and that was unfortunately, I think after the second one, they kind of stopped doing it, right? Like
I just
Project
saw,
Cars 2, and then
yeah, Project Cars 2 was the last one, but I just saw
yeah.
something. I don't know if it's the same people, but it was
It's
like,
Project something or other.
yeah, Project something, and I think it was maybe the
Oh,
same company.
all right.
Yeah, I didn't. I've seen that, and I'm like I'm on their like mailing list. But that's the one thing I will say with like sim racing is that there is just so much, and almost like so if you want like everything, from what I understand, like Assetto Corsa, it's hard to go. Like Assetto Corsa, the modder, like you mod, like we're talking about the mods on like graphics, things like that, and the plane that's flying over Greg's house. And
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and mute. Sorry.
um, it's fine, dude. Um,
Precision airstrike
Stupid.
inbound.
you just got the PA notification, or he's no noting.
Precision.
Better than the
No,
no
it's like
noting.
freaking Newark flight path is legitimately over my house. I'm just like, cool, awesome, thanks guys.
Project Motor Racing is what it's called.
Yeah, and like
Ah, nice.
I've been looking at it, and they have like they're making all the right sounds. Um,
I'm really
but they're
excited about it because it sounds like they have an awesome like
did you read
real.
anything on the career mode?
That's what I'm about. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is the career mode seems like it's like emulating real life in terms of
Right,
the
it's not
money
just the
involved in it, and like
yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
really cool.
and like the risk you take, or like
Yeah,
you can't just like what's the word? Just power through it of being like I'm the best here, therefore I race in the next thing or the next thing.
yeah,
Like you have to take like, and that's the cool thing because like the hardest thing in a lot of these games is to make the lower tiers interesting. I'll be perfectly honest. That's why I stopped playing Gran Turismo, is because the lower tier. I don't want to drive as a freaking cappuccino anymore. I want to get to something mildly cool
yeah.
and not a car that Greg thinks is cool, an actual cool car. Because you
I was
would
like,
take a cappuccino in a
oh
heartbeat.
god, I love a Suzuki Cappuccino. Those are such cool little cars. And then, but it'd be right in real life. I'm just like, ooh, let me go talk to that person. Like, I want to like experience the car, but not own it in that sense. Like, I see it at a show. I want to do that on a game. I don't want to drive a Suzuki Cappuccino. I don't give a shit about a Suzuki Cappuccino
Right,
on Gran Turismo. I want to drive something cool.
right.
I want to have like good GT racing or F1 racing or what have you.
But like
Yep.
I remember, but like the cars. So Assetto Corsa has been around for so long, and they have all these mods for different cars, different types. Like they have the most detailed Formula One car that I've ever seen. It comes with like a manual that's like that thick. So
Jesus.
you're controlling everything that you could think of in a manual car. Your recharge, your deploy of the hybrid system, you know, the whatever they can control with the engine mapping, the all of this stuff, like all the way down to the diff settings, the like Jimmy Broadbent did a phenomenal video on this years ago
Love Jimmy.
about
He's
how
great.
crazy detailed this thing is, and they do some of the like, and that's how he actually got I don't want to say famous or whatever. That's how he built his channel, was doing random trying to beat Senna's lap around blah or this around
Yeah.
here, or if he did a lap board for stuff around the Nürburgring and stuff like that's. And he always says it. That's what makes sim racing cool. Like I always thought it would be hilarious if we could figure out a way to get Greg's car and my car of equal sort of that performance point metric that like Forza and Gran Turismo uses, and then just sit in our sim rigs and go racing with it. Or like we did rate GT3 races. It's just such a cool.
Oh yeah.
It's just such a cool space and what you could do, and it's so much closer than almost like the flight simulator stuff is obviously this on a similar vein to it,
Yeah.
but it's not like all right, well I got Prestige Master in COD, I'm gonna go fight a war now, like
Yeah. Or I
or
can drum in Rock Band. I'm gonna go actually drum in real life. Like
Right.
that's not real.
I
Yep.
can play through the fire and flames because I did it once. And
I'm excellent on Guitar Hero. I know how to play guitar now. No. No, you
it's-
don't.
Yeah.
But no, that's it's been cool. We've hit that magical 2 hour mark. One thing I did kind of want to touch on, of the things we kind of have left, is there anything you can we mentioned a little bit, and I don't want to overstep here. So if it's a wait and see thing, please tell me that. But the next channel, it's next up anything, if memory serves.
Correct. Yep.
Walk us through the vision for that, because obviously I think you sort of, I don't want to underplay what you did, because again, before TrueGameData, I was like, I like the M4. After TrueGameData, god damn it, I gotta go level this gun up because it kills 3,000ths of a second faster, and I need it.
Yeah.
So, but like this one, you've kind of had a chance to sort of sit on and sort of ruminate on and sort of,
Yeah.
I don't want to say have your hand forced, but like, what can you say about the new channel,
Sure.
if anything?
Yeah. So I've been in the space now of content creation for 5 years, almost 5 years, and it was cool, but like I don't really care about Call of Duty anymore at all, and so I'm not super interested in working on that anymore. And I also want to do things that like help people, something that actually feels meaningful rather than Call of Duty weapons. Like I want to do something that feels like it matters to the world, and um, so I've been sitting on this for a long time. I've always loved like I don't know if you guys have ever seen like Veritasium videos on YouTube.
Oh
Like a
yeah.
huge like science
Veritasium's
creator.
awesome.
Yeah. That's always been my dream. Like if I could be him and make that kind of content, I think it's really important to get people interested in science and engineering and technology and storytelling these things in a way that makes them interesting to people who might not otherwise be interested in those kind of things. That would be amazing to me. So that's sort of like kind of the idea between on the channel. I want to have a channel that just doesn't have any bounds because I get really interested in things like cars. I get really interested in like, the first video is going to be on credit cards, which doesn't sound interesting at all. It's not about being interesting in this case. It's about helping people save money because I have gotten obsessed with credit cards and I know how to like get all the right cards to save literally thousands a year if you take advantage of the cash back. So the first video is going to be on that. It's going to be tied to the website that is also nextupanything.com, which is not finished yet. So don't go there. Don't go there. It's not done. um, so I'm going to have a bunch of tools built on the site to go along with that video. So that's going to be the unique aspect of this, where it's like, it's not just going to be a video where I talk about credit cards. It's going to be a video where I say, okay, this is all the information about credit cards. You can go to this website that I built that's going to have tools that's going to help you optimize for your spending patterns, which cards would be the best for you. And each video is going to be a completely different topic probably. So it's not going to be like the next one's still about credit and things like that. It could be about cars. It could be about...
Next up, debit cards.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's just I want to teach people things that I've learned. I would love to make videos like Veritasium or those kind of channels someday where it's like informative but in an interesting storytelling kind of way. Would love to do that someday. Yeah, it's anything. It's anything that I'm interested in, anything that I think is going to be useful to people, anything that I think will be just an interesting video for people to watch.
That's awesome. I mean, I think you'll be able to nail that because if you've built a good following, like you know how to build the following at this point, right? Like you've had like the cool like blow up from the COD stuff, but also like you've cultivated that. It's not just stayed at 50K followers, right? You've built on that, so you know how to do that. Like,
and it gives you a jump start. Like you can
totally.
People from COD aren't necessarily interested in credit cards, but I have 250,000 followers
Their
on my
moms
YouTube
are.
channel.
Right, but no, there is crossover, and like
Yeah.
if they're following for you, they're gonna follow the next thing, right? So I feel that you're gonna be successful in that sense, and like there's people that watch, myself included, power washing videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
If people are watching power washing videos
Yeah.
and they're well done, people will watch anything as long as they're well edited. It's a good story, and there's something to like connect with.
Yeah, it has to provide value or be interesting or a combination of the two, basically.
Yeah, I always give this example. Like one of my favorite creators is a guy named Jimmy High Roller. He makes basketball videos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like basketball. Don't watch it. I hate basketball.
Yep.
I don't miss a single one of his videos because it's super well done. There's amazing graphics and stats in it. It highlights different things. The storytelling is amazing. It's just like I literally couldn't care less about who won the NBA title this year. I think it was the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think. Don't even
Yeah.
know. But I watched the video on it because, or I'm about to watch the video on it. I watched this last one. I think he just came out with another because the creator's awesome and like the way the creator is telling the story, like that's what I'm interested in
Yep.
as opposed to the topic. So like, I mean, you have it down. You'll freaking nail that. You got it.
I hope so. I appreciate that. And remember the
Yeah.
very beginning of the video, there was something I was thinking about that I lost.
Oh, did you get
Came
it?
back because we're talking about this.
What is it?
You were asking about imposter syndrome and if I ever feel that with the success that I had with TGD. And I don't with the website, but with the YouTube channel, I do somewhat because I feel like I'm not like this super interesting kind of creator. Like all the people in the COD scene are like kids that are shouting at the screen, and I've never been that. I've just been like I just talk about stuff and I teach you about stuff. And so I've always felt a little bit like I don't know if imposter syndrome is the right word, but just kind of I
You're
don't know.
the
I feel like
dad
I've,
of the space.
yeah, and I just like people value me because I give them value. It's not because I'm entertaining, which I don't necessarily like because I want to just make these videos that are like entertaining and informative at the same time, which is kind of what I would like to do someday. But so yes,
Yeah.
there's my answer. I don't really feel it about the website and things like that because that's just like work that I do. But YouTube videos, I don't feel like I've ever been someone who I never would have thought I was a YouTube creator. That was like, if you told me that when I was 20 years old, I'd be like, that's super cool, but there's no way.
We've talked about the same thing exactly on like hey didn't 15 years ago we're just like yeah you're gonna be making car videos and on the internet someday. I'll
Right.
be like haha that's hilarious. What are you smoking?
Yeah.
Like,
So you mean my professional baseball careers ended tragically? Damn it.
I don't know. Justin Verlander's still pitching at 42. I think he's still got a shot.
Yeah, tell that to my shoulder. My shoulder's going on like 78. I did have one question, and this might be a little too YouTubey nitty gritty, but at this
Yeah.
point, I'm curious. So the fact that it is a quote unquote anything channel,
Yep.
is it just something? Is it more of I'm going to do this because I'm passionate about it, and the passion will come through, and eventually that will sort of sustain it, or is it? Do you have a plan? Because we all know YouTube likes its specificity.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
so we
That's a
saw it in
fantastic
the,
question. Yeah.
we saw it in the car space, right? You would think having an automotive channel would be specific enough,
Right.
but no, doing car news and doing builds along with reviews was counterproductive.
Yep.
You know.
Yes,
So-
that's a great question, and yes, I've thought about that.
and I'm not trying to shit on it. I'm
No.
genuinely curious because you and Greg, honestly, could probably sit for hours and talk data, like just
I like that.
hours.
Yes.
Like, meanwhile,
Let's
I'll end up being over here like,
Yes.
all right, well, I'm gonna go order a brand new engine. I'll see you guys in an hour.
Oh my god, I love the YouTube back end and just going over the analytics and all the data. It's just
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
It'd be very helpful.
Braingasm. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so fun to like look at and like how does this work? Why is this not doing well? Why is this doing well? Well, that did well this week, but it's not doing well this week. Blah blah blah. Blah. It's crazy, and you like to then try to figure out the algorithm
Right.
of YouTube versus Instagram versus Facebook and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's
That
crazy that,
really
like you
kind
can
of
post the same
fascinates me a
video,
lot.
you post the same video in two places, they do completely different in terms of.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so crazy.
100%. We do that
Yeah.
all the time on freaking all of our socials. Just like, oh yeah, that got 200 views on YouTube. Meanwhile, 6 million views later on Facebook. You're like, what the
Yeah.
shit? Like, how did that work?
Yeah.
Or even within
Weird.
the meta space, right? We'll have a video
Oh, yeah.
do like 3 or 4 or 6,000 or whatever on Instagram, and well into 6 figures on Facebook, and vice versa. And it's just like, shouldn't it be the same algorithm or similar? Like,
You would think they would be at least similar in how they function, but they're not.
no,
Somehow.
not even- smarter
It's
people than
crazy.
I are doing it. But no, that's
So your
It's-
question,
yes.
yes. Next up, anything for me is not something that I'm expecting to be successful on YouTube as far as becoming this huge financial thing. Like, I don't expect it to be a channel that's going to make me a lot of money, and I think there's a small chance that it could, but like you said, YouTube loves when you're like in a niche and you fill that niche, and this is obviously the exact opposite of that. So it's more just like something that I want to do than it is something I'm expecting to make a lot of money. So one of the ways I'm trying to mitigate what you're talking about, where I might not do very well in the algorithm, I'm trying to make it like Patreon based almost, where the website that I'm building that's going along with the channel, I'm building in essentially, Patreon into it. It's going to be its own payment system. It's not going to be actually Patreon, but it's basically like, hey, if you value the videos and content that I'm making, pay me $1 a month, and I'll keep making videos because that incentivizes me to keep doing this because I make something from it. So it's like I might make some money from it, but it's more just that I want to do it and I think it's interesting. And there's things that I think I can help people with, whether or not those videos get a million views. I still think that they're valuable to some people, and I don't know. That's more,
They'll have staying power.
yeah. Like
At
the
least,
credit
I
card
mean,
one is going to teach people stuff, and completely different than the TGD content, where it's like make a video about the meta. Okay, 2 days later, that's irrelevant, and that sucks when you make content.
yeah. Or you make, or like God literally makes a mistake, and now all of a sudden an underbarrel shotgun is one tapping from 50
Yeah,
meters, and
yeah.
you know that while it's got to suck making that content, knowing that in like 3 days, this is going to just fall off a cliff, right? Like,
Yeah, it's even less than 3 days a lot of the time. A lot of time it's my video because like I know a lot of the devs at this point, and they watch my content and they make patches based on things that I find that are wrong. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's just there's zero evergreen content in Call of Duty space or video game space in
That's
general.
crazy.
yeah,
So
So
it's
yeah,
what?
I'm not expecting to make money from it really. It's just something I want to do, and
one of the
um,
videos will be a good companion to the website, right? Like,
that's
because
what's unique about it. Yeah,
I don't know about
Yeah.
you guys, but I'm very much a visual slash audible slash video learner. You
yeah,
know, I sit down. My uncle, he successful individual, wrote a book that's done fairly well, and he's like, "Have you read it yet?" And I was like, I sit down and I read a book, and like 20 minutes in, I've understood what I've read, but the second I put it down and like go do something else, out the
gone.
back of my
Yeah.
head, just blown out the like just gone. But like a video, I'll watch and it'll stick. Why that is, no idea. Probably some of the dumb shit I did when I was younger, more than anything. Um, but it's like it's cool to have that companion of you can have a website that'll sit here and list out all the things you can do to say leverage credit cards to your advantage other than the obvious of the line of credit.
Yep.
Or there's a X minute video next to it that tells you like so many more people, and especially with the younger generations, forget about it. Oh, I have to read and spend 10 minutes doing this when I can just watch a 2 minute video or whatever.
Right.
It's that instant gratification that, well, as creators, we've all sort of played into. But
Yeah. It's
It's
no,
true.
level.
that's a really cool concept because one of the things I really enjoy, and one of the things I've gotten a little bit of a chance to do with ever since I left the golf space was small scale business development, helping entrepreneurs, helping friends who are like have a great idea but just don't believe in themselves or don't want to start because they don't know the first steps. But I
Right.
love the individuals who have that entrepreneurial spirit, just because one, it's a risk, right? And two, it's you know could change the space, right? Like
Yeah.
it's that stuff's always like really really cool to me.
Yeah. I
But
I think it for me it's like if in order for me to actually do a lot of work on something, I have to be like interested in it and passionate about it. So that's why I go after these things rather than working for a company or something. I have to go after things that I'm interested in. So this is something I'm interested in. I've got a bunch of other projects that could actually make money that I'm working on at the same time. So it's like I got to get those out, get this out, and something will catch besides TGD.
and I think
I have just subscribed.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Don't forget to
um,
like, share, and follow.
The zero video channel. It's coming. It's coming. Like
I
two
mean,
two weeks.
look, you already got four. I'm now 414.
Hell yeah, nice.
Let's go.
but No, and I think this is actually kind of a good natural spot to kind of close. And Greg, sorry, I'll take the dad advice for this week. Um, it's corny. It sounds, made up or whatever, but legitimately, and Greg, I think you can attest to this on the opposite side of the spectrum, given your current job. But if you do something you love, it's work, but it's not work. Meaning, you're working, but you're enthused about doing the work. It's not work to fill a timesheet, or it's not work to meet a deadline or to meet a quota or whatever. Yeah, those
Yeah.
things are part of it, but if you actually love what you're doing or are genuinely interested in what you're doing, it's time well spent. It's
I also think that success follows that. Like if you're
Totally.
just doing something because it makes a lot of money, like
you'll burn out.
you'll burn out, and yeah, you might be successful for a little while, but if you're I mean, that's my dad was always like, just do whatever you're passionate about. Just follow your passion, and it's still how I live. Like I just do whatever I'm interested in, and money will follow.
You
Is
mean
basically what.
three Porsches in 3 weeks or 2 weeks?
Okay, yeah, money didn't follow that one yet.
Well, no, but you were in a place to follow your passions, and
Right.
like
Yeah.
that's a lot of, and there's so many. I have so many friends that are too scared to take the first step,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's, At any rate,
I keep telling my kids the same thing. They're like, I want to be an illustrator. I'm like, hell yeah, let's get you into art classes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
You want to do it? I know you're 7. I don't care. Let's do it. Let's do
Yeah.
it. You want to do that now? Maybe you'll still want to do it when you're 55.
Yep.
Just foster the environment and make them love it.
Yep. I think that's extremely important, and for me, it does. Chasing these things like golf and then TGD, they do fade over time, but that's fine. I enjoyed them while I was doing them, and I can move on to my next passion after that. So it's like, it
Right.
doesn't matter that, yeah, maybe it becomes just a job eventually. You can still pivot and find new things that you're interested in. It's not like you just stop being interested in stuff.
and everything you've learned can go to the next thing. Like,
Yeah.
full stop. What I'm doing now as my quote unquote day job is all from shifting lanes, pretty much. Is all from stuff I learned, and it has absolutely nothing to do with cars. You
Yeah.
know, granted, I am a little too into cars, but like,
Yeah.
You know,
But those are the natural.
they're
those
my
are the natural
trains.
stepping. Those are the natural stepping stones to next up anything.
Exactly.
exactly. So,
Boom.
Boom.
Ri-
That was good.
Writer.
That was good.
Writer.
and scene.
Yeah.
But
Also,
no,
I got to show this off. I got my new license plates for the Boxster. It's so
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
like,
I love that.
and it ties in with our thumbnail, which we never even actually really talked about. But
yeah,
hey,
that's true. I think the Boxster is the meta because it's 3,000 pounds, handles amazing, it's convertible, it's cheap. You can tune it for $1,000 and get 450 horsepower. It's the meta. Boom.
I mean,
going
there's
on.
there's an argument that the Boxster is the perfect car. It has been since it was conceived. Because
It is criminal
it's
that
just
like my brother just texted me the other day and he's like, I saw a Boxster. The guy thought it was a Boxster. It was 911, but the guy he was with thought it was a Boxster, and he's like, "That's a girl's car." I'm like, "That's so stupid. It's so criminal that people say that kind of
What?
stuff about the older Boxsters specifically, because it's such a good car. It's so good."
yeah. They
Now,
are. They're amazing.
now
cars.
going on True Car Data to verify your findings. You're
Yeah,
the guy
we'll
like,
get there eventually.
try
That's one
out.
of them.
No, but no, I mean,
That's gonna be one of the videos probably on Next Up Anything. That'll be one of the tools that I have. Is like, if you want to buy a car, here you go. This is a tool that we've built that can help you find what car you should get, and you can look at
Nice.
all the how much it's going to cost per mile based on exactly where you live, how much gas costs there, how much electricity costs there, how much the maintenance costs are, and you'll see that for all the cars in your spot. Like all kinds of ideas for that kind of stuff.
there you go.
I love
mean,
that.
and that's the thing. It may have been COD that. Of course, Sean, you would want to put a lift kit on a Boxster. I mean, granted, the 911 Dakar
Honestly?
exists, so
Pretty badass.
The car is sick, dude. That thing is so cool.
no, it's
You're saying COD is the
No, it was the vehicle at which to prove a concept, right? Like your data
right.
driven, um, not data driven tool to help people come to a conclusion on something they want to use, whether it be in the
Right.
digital space or now you're transferring that into the real world space. Like, and then like we didn't even touch on like MetaGen on TrueGameData. I mean, literally something where you put in a few parameters and it spits out what you should use. Uh, I'm too
Dude,
stubborn to let it tell me what not to run, but there's
that's
got to be.
fine. It's just supposed to get you close. It's supposed to get you close, and then you can tweak it to what you want.
Yeah, it's. Although I'm
And
not as much of a meta chaser now as I used to be.
yeah,
Uh, just because, like you, my interest in COD has waned. I'm really, really looking forward to Delta Force on console, so like my crew can play together. I
yeah,
like that idea. Like, have never really gotten into like the extraction shooter at all. Like DMZ was the closest I got to it, and I never really, you know, I have a very, I don't know, how do I say this with being kind? Like one of my good friends that I game with is very, this is how it is, right? Like to the point where he had to be convinced to play Warzone after decades of playing, or actually, I guess a decade of playing multiplayer.
yeah.
Once he got to Warzone, it was like pulling teeth to get him to try Resurgence.
Mm.
Even though he would constantly complain about having to wait to be bought back or whatever.
Yeah, like
And,
you'd think if he came from multiplayer that he'd want to play Resurgence.
you
Like,
know, well, no, he's the type of, if I'm into this, this is the mode. Like, this is all
yeah,
I care about. Like, and weirdly enough, like, we've reverted. We always used to be about the camo grind. Then it was Warzone, and Warzone, I mean, if Brett is still in chat, he'll tell you how, that's how I met Brett, was through Warzone or whatever. He's a good friend of
hmm
mine now. And like I've never actually met him in real life. Like
right.
it's something we need to fix, but like the friends of gaming and stuff that you come across, like that's why I game is the social aspect of it. Like unfortunately at our age with people having kids and that pesky damn real world, not the
Yeah,
show from our
The
youth.
J word.
We just don't see. So it's like really nice to just hop on, which is why personally I fucking hate COD's SBMM. But that's a rant for another channel.
yeah. That's a long one. I've never made a video on that for reasons because you make somebody upset no matter what you say.
Well, yeah, and obviously something. Well, not to go too down that rabbit hole, but obviously that's obviously part of it is working, and it's more just the game itself being broken and at the higher levels hacking being a problem. That's like, and obviously COD has kind of gotten stale, right? Like
Yeah.
it was cool, it was different, and now it's common. So, but before we kind of delve down anything that's going to take up another 2.5 hours of your life,
Hey, I'm
um,
here all night. I can keep going. Whatever you guys want to do.
opening battle. No, I'm kidding.
There we go. Let's go. Let's go play some Warzone.
Kennedy won #0. Just saying.
You guys can. I need to download it. You guys can like teach me literally everything, and they're just like, "Oh God, nope, nope, nope. We're ending it. Nope,
You
we're done."
just point at the person and you just pull the trigger. It's not hard.
play in
Yeah.
our play in our lobby. We will literally get that like some of that protected lobby. It'll be like we're two boxing, but with an actual person.
Exactly.
But Tony, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. I was really looking forward to this. At the risk of again ending the stream like I started it, being just almost cringe-worthy levels of glazing. You are from a purely social presence and online presence or whatever, the biggest guest we've ever had.
That's kind of shocking.
Well, because Greg won't get Ed or Tavares to stop filming Car Trek for 5 minutes to get a. But no,
Busy
it was-
being creators, jerks.
Ridiculous.
But even with that,
dare- how
they're busy
dare
being
they.
creators. What does Tavares make a video once a quarter? Like, come on!
At this point, yeah,
And then it gets 2.6 million views. Jackass.
yeah. It's an event now.
Oh, one day.
Yeah.
One day when I hit the lot, like, that's the one thing. the podcast I want to run is like they have the Top Gear challenges down.
Yeah.
I want to do the Top Gear guest segment with the star and the reasonably priced car.
Yes.
So, like,
So
case in
good.
point, if I had
Come
my
to our
way,
private track.
if I had my way, the version of tonight's podcast would have been: we've had all the things we've talked about, and it's like, and now let's go to Tony's lap.
Just do it now. Just do it like sim racing. It's just do a lap in a Assetto Corsa.
That's true, actually.
I had thought about something like that. It's just getting like, what does everybody have, and like,
Yeah, that's the problem.
back to
Yeah.
the sim racing point. There's 9 billion of them. There's Assetto Corsa. There's iRacing. There's Assetto
Yeah.
Corsa Competizione. There's soon to be Assetto Corsa Evo. There's
Yep.
LMU.
What's
like,
a prerequisite to being on the podcast? You must have this wheel and this game and this setup and blah blah blah. Here's your setup. Download the setup. Done.
and we lost Mr. Beast. Like, just kidding.
Damn.
It's like he'd probably be like, "Oh, that's a great idea. I'm stealing it and donating
Yeah.
half the proceeds to a charity."
Yeah.
But no, man. Thanks a
Yeah,
ton.
Jimmy.
You're welcome back on the show anytime you want. Now that we've got like a somewhat workaround tech fixed, thanks to you and Greg.
I
not
didn't do
sharing
anything,
that
but
information
I did
sooner.
say it. I did say it, but it didn't get implemented until way later.
Well,
Yeah.
you're getting credit for it because you did say
Let's
it.
go. Let's
know.
go.
Like everything, blame Greg. Get a bigger turbo for Christ's sake, Greg.
There it is. There it is.
But again,
well, it's a show.
yeah, I have a quota to reach. But your car needs a bit. Tony, thanks for
time.
hopping on,
Next
man.
time.
Like I said, you're welcome whenever you want, man. It's been a hell of a lot of fun, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for having me. It was a blast. I would love to come back on sometime. And now that we've got all the background stories out of the way, we can just talk about stuff. That'd be fun.
Absolutely,
Hell
man.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to get your opinion on cars and like news and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime.
well,
I'd love to.
awesome,
For
man.
sure.
We appreciate that. I've changed my mind. Greg, dad advice, go.
Oh,
boy.
I have none. It'll go back to the same thing that you'd said. If you do what you love, you won't work a day in your life. The end.
And
Boom.
everyone, go follow Tony, his new project. We're definitely going to be sharing that within all of our stuff once he gets it up and rocking, because it sounds a really cool concept, and it's really interesting to see that sort of stuff go. But for this one, that's a wrap. Sean, thanks for sticking out, my dude. That's a wrap, and we'll catch everyone. We're back.